and shorts, and surf, and scuba, and sand, and sailing, and soccer. San Diego, California.
Season's greetings and welcome to Two Balls and a Mic, episode 223 on a Monday with a special guest in studio, the great @Young the Ryan. We're going to get started today with some San Diego Wave coverage. San Diego Wave lose away Seattle Reign once again, raining on San Diego's parade. We're going to get into all of the ifs, ands, or buts of what could have been another good away stint for San Diego Wave. We're also going to go ahead and touch base with the Sirens, the Call of the Sirens. We're going to have a special guest to check in on what is going on that side of the world in terms of supporter groups. Speaking of supporter groups, there was a lot of supporter groups over on 3rd Avenue in Chula Vista. Chrome Ball Tour, SDFC. We're going to get into the event and just how everything went down and the community coming out. Some lucha that people enjoyed. People getting mistaken identities. It was not Rey Mysterio. I'm sorry.
That was about as close as you could get, I feel.
That is the great King Mysterio, actually. He's actually a really good wrestler here, local. Shout out King Mysterio. But yeah, we'll have all that, some shenanigans, and some good discussions. It's fun having you here, Ryan.
I like how you did the double take with good discussions.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm excited. It's been almost 2.5, 3 months since we last talked.
Well, yeah, you've been globetrotting. Mm-hmm. You literally left to a different continent, like the day after or 2 days after. I don't even know. Like, was it like that week?
Yeah, I think it was that week. Yeah, I went to Vietnam, Thailand, Philippines, Japan, and back. It was good. It was good to get like see the start of wave season away and sort of like kind of take the what do they say, like 30,000
foot view
of everything here, and then come back and feeling fresh and obviously jumping right back into it.
I mean, did you catch is there any soccer that's just out and about over there? Like, I mean, like I know you're more aware of it now, just in general, like you see
for sure
picking up, but is there anything like that or any other sports like that?
Would you see like pickup soccer over there anywhere?
Not as much. I'm trying to think. In Thailand, I would see some pickup soccer. Obviously now it's like soccer pitches just like stand out to me. So most of them are like, anywhere you go over there, it's just dirt, or it's like on concrete.
Yeah.
More basketball in the Philippines though, like basketball everywhere, like outdoor courts, and like they're super cool. We stopped at one. There's just like right on the water, palm trees, and it's like you ask and you're like, oh yeah, it's just like a little community center, and then they tell you they're like, like one guy was like, it really gets going later. You should come back. And I was like, we never did. But yeah, I feel like more basketball craze than soccer.
Yeah, no, the Filipinos love themselves some basketball. If you want that same feel, go hit up El Tayan Park in National City. Literally, just it's a street ball as it gets. Literally everybody was Kobe's.
That's That's why I like TJ, right? In TJ, you see soccer, basketball, baseball a lot. That's pretty cool. I mean, glad to have you back in San Diego in one piece. That's good.
Absolutely, guys. Well, I guess we could get started, right?
Yeah.
With Wave.
No, 100%. And
do we have to?
And we, geez. Thank you for everybody who's joining us here live. We're going to have a Call of the Sirens in a bit as well. But we also have on the call a fantastic individual who does incredible amount of work for San Diego Wave and just covering the team. So glad he's on the team. Abe, hi.
What's up, babe?
Hello, you.
This is the first time I think that we had 4, like it's just a hybrid, like there's 2 people on the pod, one online, one here.
One
like
person.
we haven't done this. I'm just glad it works. We have the equipment for it.
100%.
Cool. Hi, Abe. How are you?
Doing well, having a lot of fun. I'm really starting to regret the last headline of my last Seattle Reign Wave game. I said San Diego and Seattle's reign over the team, but that definitely didn't happen.
I got a question for you guys with the game. Obviously, they go up 1-0 after, the Reign player goes off in about the 10th minute. What minute mark did you go, I feel like this game's starting to turn? Was it before that first rain goal, or was it sort of like after that first rain goal where you guys were like, ooh, this could be a grind to just even get a point out of this match?
I think a little bit before the first goal. I mean, you get that foul, right? And then they get a red card. And then off of that set piece, you score and you go up 1-0. I mean, you got to build up that momentum. You have a player up, and it's very easy to lose your head and get confidence saying, well, we're up 1-0. We're up a player very early in this game. We got this in the bag. And I think that's what kind of happened with Wave in this game. By the way, I thought this was a very soft red card. I don't think it should have been a red card at all. I mean, you can kind of see the player from Seattle just kind of like throwing the hand, but I think it's a little soft. Hope Loomvings. I bottled that shit.
Tony was letting you lay on that one.
Yeah.
I mean,
You had it last week.
She had that mark on her
right?
face.
Yeah, it was bad, but I still think it was a little soft. But I mean, you review it, it's a clean hit on the face. It's always going to be a red card. But yeah, to answer your question, I think a little bit before that first goal, but just the way it happened kind of like killed the whole momentum for Wave.
Yeah, that first goal was not fun to see. But I think even before that, though, once they kind of calmed down and were just trying to pass the ball instead of just putting their foot on their throats when you're up a player that early, it's very telling of what kind of game they're going to play.
But it's interesting because, I mean, Casey Stoney keeps switching off the lineup. She hasn't been able to have a consistent lineup. And this is probably going to be the second game in a row that you're like, okay, you just went up, you won at home and you played great with a completely different lineup. Run that lineup again or tweak a little bit of things. You have to start Kristen Manek as center back because Naomi Girma got injured. So, I mean, Kimmy had a great first game at Snapdragon, and then you think, okay, maybe she can start again and just play 45 minutes. I mean, by the end of that first half at Snapdragon, she looked gassed already. She's 16. And then you throw in Van Egmond. If you're up, play a little more defensive, you start Van Egmond again. I don't think she's been the same this season at all for Wave, what she used to be last season. And you start Elise Bennett. I thought Maya Jones had a great game at Snapdragon first. So you don't start her now. So you got to have consistency in the lineup. I get it. You got to have rotations. Your players are getting injured. You can kind of start panicking as a coach, but you got to still keep that consistency. You get players in the offseason to have depth in that back line, and it just goes to shit. Everyone's getting injured. You have to adapt. So I don't know what you guys think. I mean, injuries suck, especially so early in the season. But in a way, your players are going to end up coming back. And maybe they don't get hurt towards the end of the season when it matters. So I don't know what you guys think. The lineup, do you guys like it? Didn't like it?
There's a lot to, give credit to in terms of like injuries, right? Like there's some adjustments that you're just going to have to do. But I think, and especially knowing what we know now and today, right? We know that these injuries may be a little bit more long-term than they may have seen before. Spoke to Casey Stoney today as far as like, is there any outlook? And it doesn't seem like there's any immediate outlook. So you already know what you're getting yourself into. You have some real-time minutes with some players that are proven to do really well. And to really not capitalize on that momentum that you had here at home is something that I think is a missed opportunity overall, because you had the confidence to go into it. Like it seemed like in that first half in the last game here at home that this Wave team were just world beaters. Like it didn't matter who was in front of them. Like they were going to win that match. I didn't get that sense at any point in this game. They got a red card early on. The goal that they got seemed a little bit, the goal that Wave got seemed a little bit, just happenstance. It was a lucky bounce, just ping pong bomb inside of the box. And you were fortunate there. But at no point did I think, okay, well, this is going to be a staple San Diego Wave win. They're going to run away with it. The attack is going to be relentless. Because sometimes that's what it is. Like you keep attacking, you keep doing what you think and you probably should be doing, and it's not enough. The goalkeeper's having a great night. The defense is stopping you, has every answer for every question you're throwing. But I think it's a lot of just self-inflicted wounds by San Diego Wave happening, and it's just a death by 1,000 cuts, and all those cuts are self-inflicted.
I think one of the interesting things I saw going into this match was Kaylin Sheridan with the armband. Typically, I think some of the injuries that have happened, it's like typically that would, fall to Girma, Dalkemper if Morgan's out. And, I think Kaylin is an emotional leader for this team, usually takes a huddle pregame. Even times I've been in the locker room, she's the one, that will speak and really speaks from the heart. So personally, I was like, this is great. I think she deserves it. But who now falls when you have these injuries? Like, who are you wanting to see more out of field position wise, of being more assertive, being more of that vocal leader amongst the field players that maybe you're not seeing as much?
Mackenzie Doniak.
Yeah, I was thinking the same exact thing too.
Has been a baller. She on that wing, even I've been saying it all season. On that wing, she's proving her game. Like, she had a couple chances in this game where the finishing wasn't there, but I think by far she has been one of the best players this season for Wave. Like, she's very vocal. You can see that I think her game speaks for itself. Like, she kind of like walks the talk, right? So I think Doniak, we've seen her with the captain armband when she subbed on for Alex Morgan too. She kept it, and I asked Casey, "Hey, what was that all about?" She said, "I didn't even think about that. Like, it's whatever." I think I know, Tony, you're not a fan of goalkeepers wearing the captain armband, especially when you gotta talk.
Just from a communication standpoint?
No, I mean, part of it, right? Like, you're already by default the captain of the defense without the armband. That's your unit. Those are your people. Those are the ones that you rely on. Those are the ones that you move. You're the only player on the field that has a view of everything that's happening. And so you have that maneuverability to do that. But when something happens on the other side of the pitch, you need that captain to stand up for your team. You need that vocal leader to be able to run down, speak to the referee, say, "Hey, that was a red card. That was a yellow card," like backing up your teammates. Part of the reason why I don't like that is because then you lose that on the outside, with the outside players, on the field players. Sure, Sheridan's already got that, but I think, and this is personal preference, and I'm incredibly biased because this is my favorite player on the squad so far, is McCaskill. She brings an intensity every match and every game that I think is leading by example. But is she really being positive in utilizing that to channel it with her teammates in a way to rally the whole team together, right? Like, she'll have individual skills, individual plays. She's hard-nosed, just pitbull mentality, intense. It's Kurt Angle, integrity, intensity, and intelligence. Boom, all in one. But I think that's somebody who can definitely step into that role already, and she's proven to be just a multi-functional player on defense, on offense. She has everything. She's a full package, and I think that's somebody who can definitely be looked at, especially when you're looking at who's on the injured list, who's not being able to step up. I honestly think, and I know Casey doesn't necessarily put a lot of stock onto the captain's armband, because she'll give captain's armband of like, "Oh, last year, right? Poe, she deserved it 100%." And then she would give it to somebody else the next week. And I think that rotation of the captain's armband is great morale booster, because again, you have many leaders on a team, but at the end of the day, you still need you still need that one person, that anchor that's going to go ahead and be that fall person and be able to yell a couple more obscenities to the referee or to the opposing team. And I don't see that with Wave right now.
Well,
I think really quick, I think Casey mentioned it, that Alex Morgan has been that vocal leader for the team that they all kind of look up to. And Alex Morgan is definitely not afraid to yell at a ref. And they severely lacked in this game. And there was 10 yellow cards the most in any NWSL match ever, which is insane. And you really, you have to have a player on the pitch, on the field at least, that can go up to a ref and give them some business about that. Because some of them were a little soft, but I think to even just calm your own team down to stop it from being such a chippy game like that.
And then what happens when?
I mean, you do have that leader. It's Alex Morgan, but she's hurt. Then you have Dalkemper, but she's hurt. Then you have Naomi Girma, but now she's hurt too. So now, if you're the coach, if you're Casey Stoney, you find yourself in a spot where you're like, well, who is my next leader? I lost my 3 back-to-back leaders. Now who's next? So that's why you have that rotation. I mean, I know last season she kind of kept rotating too, but she's had to deal with injuries pretty much every season. And it's kind of crazy that it's happening. But again, you have to adapt. This is soccer. It happens to every single team out there.
Another thing about goalkeepers and that captain armband, right? And it happened in this match actually, is if there's a moment where a goalkeeper commits an error, it's usually a fatal error. It usually leads into a goal. And then that means that that person, that goalkeeper, is then mentally not necessarily in the best place to be able to rally everybody else, because honestly, after that, you have to rally yourself to begin with. And already that is already something that's weighing in your mind throughout the entire match, like it or not. If you make an error and it's not a goal, phew, but you still have that in the back of your mind. It's an error, it's a goal, just like it happened here with Sheridan. That has to definitely weigh on you. And I think that's kind of the malaise that just took over Wave of, like if Sheridan, our best player right now, commits an error like that, how are we going to be better than that? There's not that person to rally those individuals, right? Let Sheridan handle herself. Let the captain outside rally the outside players and take care of each other. But it's that balance and not being able to have a set player outside really hurts a team, in my opinion.
Yeah. I want to ask you all about, y'all sort of mentioned her already, McCaskill. I feel when I talk to fans, when you look at stuff, she seems to have this very lightning rod kind of reaction with people. Like either people really love her or people are like, she's not my cup of tea. And I talked to her actually at the Border View YMCA opening, and I forgot what match they were coming off of.
It was
the 2-1 win.
The 2-1.
Yeah. Started.
And I think it was a road match too that I saw her before the training or after a road match. And I said, man, like I appreciate like the effort would just like jumps off to me. But then I talked to some fans and they're like, yeah, well, she's not like, wish she had better vision, and it's like we could wish a lot of things on literally anybody, like however good they are. But like, how do you see her impact so far, and where do you think it can go once some of these other pieces come back from injury?
I unfortunately think, and this is the way things just happen, right? There's going to be a point where McCaskill is going to settle in. She's going to be at her season prime, do the best. And then the players are going to start coming back healthy. And at that point, it's either she's going to get hurt or she's not going to be able to bring the other players to adapt to her, because now you're going to have a full strength Shaw, full strength Morgan, being able to create and being those outlets that you're not necessarily going to look towards McCaskill. And something I've noticed with Wave, the NWSL, is that usually like if there's 1, 2, 3 players that are doing very well, you can bet that 90% of the attack is going to just have to go through those players, not just in a game, but throughout. It's the Sheridan, Korniak, Morgan. It's boom, boom, boom. It worked once. It probably worked twice. It did. Let's keep trying that out. If that doesn't work, what are we going to do? How are we going to adapt? And I think that's something that Wave have struggled with, and I'm not necessarily sure if that's a coaching aspect where it's a matter of adapting to the circumstances and the players that then you have left. We were talking with Casey Stoney again at the post match, and she was like, man, I hope I have that headache of having to decide who am I going to play out there. But it becomes a different headache when you have to measure where everybody's at in stamina, where everybody's at with their fitness and just in general chemistry. Because again, McCaskill can develop in her own way, but then you put different pieces around her. Well, she doesn't need those pieces, or she doesn't know how to set them up to be successful. And then you're going to have Morgan struggling. You're going to have other people struggling, Sophia struggling. And it's just one of those things where I see that happening, unfortunately. But if McCaskill can somehow be that energizer, she's the powerhouse. She can definitely be the mitochondria of this team. And push through. I think she can be an important member and really push this team to potentially try to go back to back on the supporters shield, because again, it's very early. It's super early. If there's any time to have these injuries or to have some sort of breakdown, it's now. It's not necessarily later when you're trying to fight for a playoff spot, or depending how those standings are, because I think we're talking about a little bit off camera. This league is more competitive this year across the board.
I think McCaskill is a player that, from what I've seen so far, she's a player that can adapt. And I think that center attacking mid position is her bread and butter, but I think she can also play a little farther behind. She runs around everywhere already. I think Casey Stoney kind of gives her that freedom. It's like, hey, do your thing out there. And I think for players to get that trust from their coach, it's a huge morale boost, right?
How far back are you talking? Like even the 6?
No. I think Calabrico kind of has the 6 solidified. I think she can play more of just a solid center mid, because we've seen her defending, we've seen her attacking, we've seen her everywhere in that midfield. So I think when everyone's healthy and at 100%, like Wave has such a strong lineup, right? I think ideally, if I ask you guys, what's San Diego's Wave? Like injuries are gone, everyone's top form. What is San Diego Wave's starting 11? I think we can Sheridan on goal. Lundqvist. Did I say that right, Abe? A little bit.
You're getting better.
Thank you.
Here, just move your
Hannah. I'm just gonna say Hannah.
Oh, not Hannah. Good job.
Hannah. On the right back, Dahlkemper and Naomi Girma at center backs. We all agree there.
Mm-hmm. If healthy, yeah.
If healthy, McNabb at the left back, or Torpy.
Mm-hmm.
I would go with McNabb right now.
If McNabb is 100%,
exactly, yeah.
I don't know if she is. I don't know if she isn't, but like I feel like McNabb from first year, second year before she got hurt, I think she's a very solid player.
Hear me out. Calabrico at the 6, McCaskill at that center mid position, giving her that freedom, kind of like how you gave Kimi Ascanio that freedom to do her thing. Maria Sanchez on the right wing. You have Doniak on the left wing. And then you're able to have Jaden Shaw as a false 9, center attacking mid, and Alex Morgan up on top. If my math is right, that's 11 players.
But where's Maria Sanchez?
But
that's what I said, Maria Sanchez on the right wing.
My question, and I'll pin this to you, Abe. Say that lineup, right? Do you like? I feel like some of that has to be these players then like assuming less of roles than they're used to, and then also some of these players having bigger roles than maybe they've had on Wave. Like, how do you see that transforming?
See, the issue I think with McCaskill, she was the leading scorer for Angel City. She's still their leading scorer technically, and it's for some reason she didn't really meld well in Angel City either. Even though she was their leading scorer, a lot of the time it was just kind of her trying to making plays on her own and eventually scoring. So I hope we don't see that kind of frustration. I think Casey Stoney wants to let her be a midfielder, but like you're saying, this kind of meld of just a lot of attacking players, I don't know how well it can work this season. Like these past few games I don't want to say I'm worried about the Wave season, but I will say that this is something we've never seen. These are struggles that I think, even comparing to the 10-game winless streak or 9-game winless streak last season, that this team is like on the attacking level. When you have so many strong attacking players, not being able to finish like this, it's starting to be an issue.
Do you think though that, because one of the narratives I hear with that is, we can't get the ball to the people up top, so like it's almost like taking the heat off of these attacking players, and we all kind of know the struggles with some set pieces and scoring off those that Wave has had. So like, is it more of the forwards not doing their bargain, or is it more of like that narrative where people are saying, oh well, our midfield can't get it there?
There's no creativity in the midfield. You're playing people out of position because they're more creative than anybody else would in that position, especially like when you play Jaden Shaw a little bit more of a false 9 behind, in front of those midfielders, those center mids still kind of creating chaos. And then same thing with Morgan, right? I think like even going back to the World Cup, if you play Alex Morgan as a center attacking mid, I think you're in a good spot because she doesn't necessarily have the traits right now, if not anymore, to necessarily be that lethal threat, lethal 9, where you already have that with Jaden Shaw. But she has the intelligence, she has the vision, she has the passing, she has the talent to get the ball in tight spaces, to do some wonderful things in the passing sense. But then do you then have offload the creative capacities of McCaskill and then just have her focus more on the defensive role? But then you have Emily Van Egmond, who's more defensive. It's just a puzzle piece. But again, we're talking about puzzle pieces that are broken right now. Like they're not there.
I mean, again, with Van Egmond, I just don't think she's playing at the level that she played last season or even the first year with Wave. I think she's kind of dropped performance-wise a little bit, especially when she's pushing up on top. Her shots are not there. Like it's just not the same. I think you're going to the side more where you're thinking of even benching her. If it comes to the point where other players are performing, like Colaprico defensively, she has been better than Van Egmond as well. So I don't know. I mean, this is all hypothetical speaking that every player comes back healthy already. There's a chance these players don't come back till halfway through the season, which by then you need to kind of stay with the consistency and bring them in slowly. You're not just going to change the lineup drastically and play all these players that just got back from injury. You got to transition them in. So I think Casey Stoney is in a very tricky situation. And you have all these injuries and you got to play 2 games in 1 week.
Yeah.
So
My only worry about the injuries too is Megan Rapinoe played very little with Seattle before the World Cup, and she still got her starting spot on that World Cup roster. And Alex Morgan, I think, likes to play club and is a little bit more than Megan Rapinoe and is willing to give more to the team. And it kind of has to a little bit prove herself to be on that with those forwards. But we also might see the scenario where she's takes the time to rest, and we might only see like 1 or 2 games before heading off to the Olympics.
I got a stat for y'all.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this. Supposedly, in the history of Wave, they've never beaten a last place team. And with Utah coming in last place, I believe they have 1 win, 5 losses, and 1 draw.
Yeah.
But yeah, somebody told me that stat at Fair Play after the loss to the Rain. And I was like, well, way to bring another rain cloud to the situation. But and I know we talked about this a little bit going into this match. You would have to think Kaylee Reel and Madison Bogart, who both played for Wave and now are on Utah, know exactly how they're going to want to how Wave's going to want to defend Utah. I haven't seen a lot of Utah. I don't know what their attacking kind of situation looks like, but for y'all, I guess, like, what's the concern level going into this match for getting 3 points?
It's definitely a trap game. It's poised to be a San Diego Wave loss. And again, I think it's depending how it happens, because if you play against an inspired team, there's nothing really you can do in that sense, because any given day, any given Sunday, any given whatever, any team can beat anybody in this league, especially having, elements that not necessarily a revenge game like the Flint Corniak game. But it's still, knowing the ins and outs of that, it's Poe, wasn't necessarily a team 1 player, but she became an incredibly important team, part of the team for Casey. And so she knows exactly how this team is structured. You're looking at some of the players that are out and some players that are going to be available. And it's a lot of the same style of players that you saw during the World Cup time and where Casey tried to manage that. And I don't know if Casey herself has grown as a manager enough to just kind of flex seal those issues.
Flex seal. I love that.
Yeah, flex tape. Yeah. Great commercials. But at the end of the day, like, everybody knows what the weaknesses are, because weaknesses can be presented on the offensive side. That just means you're not scoring. But on the defensive side of things, if people can go ahead and figure that out, which is, set pieces. You were mentioning, like, when did you know? When did we know that goal was going to come from that set piece in the 89th minute? I think people kind of knew and had a sense of, okay, we've seen this story. You see the momentum. Like, this can certainly happen. And it's exactly what happened.
Veronica Latchko did it again. Like, she was the one that ended the Wave season last year with that cross, and she got this gnarly header from the top. Like, someone should be covering her there at the top. I think she's definitely sneaking up a little bit.
I think it was.
I mean, that was amazing. I used to watch this Sal Zizzo for Loyal. Like, this was supposedly his specialty in MLS, and they would always try this. I don't think he ever converted for Loyal, but like, I would watch them run this set piece play all the time. So I was really impressed. I mean, that's a phenomenal.
Would
goal.
It work at training?
Yeah.
Because they sucked at defending the corner kicks. That's what worked.
But to your point, Abe, though, like, who, if you look at this wide shot, like, who's not marking her, or who do you think was supposed to be marking her there, or is this just such a phenomenal play that you're like, yo, tip the cap?
No, I mean, it's defending 101. Stay in front of your defender.
Yeah, I think
stay in front of the attacker
that missed that mark.
Yeah, I believe so. And can Sheridan do anything here? Her positioning was was okay. She was being reactive to the direct, power header.
It's un golazo.
It's a great goal.
header.
100%.
Like,
Phenomenal
dude,
goal.
Like, again, that's on the defenders. It's not on Kalen Sheridan. And I mean, again, like if you're Kalen Sheridan and you get scored on that, you're like, damn, I just messed up earlier in the first half, and now this happens. Like, I had myself a bad game. So
who is on her? Who is pushing her? Who's making her feel uncomfortable?
Yeah, because it wasn't like she came on a run from somewhere else. She basically was stationary at that point.
Yeah, you got Kalapiko just looking at the player who's making the diagonal run, and this is something that it's very coach speak. But how are you going to let two people bring down your 5? Because everybody's behind on this shot, right? They're on the right-hand side of the penalty. The ball doesn't travel where there's more people, more chaos. No, they just went for the easy, here you go, near post. And again, the technique is incredible, but look at all the time. Look at all the space. Like,
yeah, 100%.
That's unacceptable.
I just want to kind of go ahead, Abe.
The biggest issue with this is they had near 12 minutes of stoppage time, and they could not convert to make an equalizer. This is like prime, as people say, NWSL after dark stuff. Just, you know what? Just get an equalizer, leave with a point, you should be fine. But they could not find anything in those last 12 minutes. Like, there were so many times where I was just saying, okay, here's the whistle. Okay, here's the whistle. But they kept getting chances. They even got a corner kick at the end that they might have been able to make, but and they end up getting a red card at the end of it, which is just about as bad as it can end up.
Yeah, I think the one thing I feel like Seattle does well, and I say this, and a lot of people give me crap for it, but I really like Jess Fishlock because I think she's a really cerebral, she's the Triple H of the NWSL. She comes with a sledgehammer. You know what you're getting, and they mucked this game up once that red card on them went.
Yeah,
and I feel like everybody says like, oh, you play down to this, and I feel like Seattle got Wave to play Seattle Reign football, and it just worked out. And I've now seen this enough because they've played each other so many times that I said this to a couple sirens at the watch party, and I was like, got a weird feeling about this game because I feel like I've seen Seattle do this, and I feel like especially Fishlock, and with that red card that McNabb got, she sold the sweet chin music that she really didn't get.
Yeah.
So.
I wanted to touch back on what you said about like Wave not being able to be the last place team, and it is Utah.
That's
right?
a stat. I didn't say they couldn't.
It's a stat. I think the only difference maker here is going to be that they're playing at home, and I think Snapdragon, and when they get a good crowd, it is intimidating to play at that stadium against Wave. I think Wave does kind of get a confidence boost.
Yeah. And
Utah coming in, being a new team in the season, I think that might play a factor against them. That could definitely benefit for San Diego Wave. And it's a Wednesday game, so let's see what the attendance is, right? It could be 10,000. Sure. 10,000 at Snapdragon. We've seen it. It's not a big difference maker as to 19,000. They do average that's 16 to 19,000 even on weekdays.
Yeah. Although comparatively, I was watching a Chicago Red Star game and another Wednesday game, and attendance doesn't seem to be strong across the league, but I would agree. Like usually Wave gets no less than, I feel like 10,000 in on a Wednesday night. 100%. So I feel like even if it is less than what you get on the weekend, I think it is gonna be a big factor on Wednesday.
So I mean, and then looking at goal, Utah is a team that's not a scoring machine. Same thing with Wave, right? Both 5 goals, but the only thing that defense for Utah is not as strong as Wave. But again, these injuries are going to play a big thing. We're gonna see probably Sierra Ng getting her first start this season. You've fought so hard in the offseason to keep her and bring her back. She was gonna go to this Utah team, I think, right?
Yeah.
No,
Bay.
Okay.
Yeah, she went Bay to Houston to Wave again. Yeah. I think was a circle. But I would say out of anybody you're bringing in because of injuries, I would think they feel extremely confident in Sierra, knowing the trust that she gained, last season through kind of being thrusted into the role. And I know, out of all the players on the team that I see when I'm around, Sierra seems to be one of those that rallies everybody together and very well liked. So I think from a comfort standpoint on the, other 10 players on the pitch, they're probably going, we're pumped to have Sierra come.
Yeah, and be for sure. And I think the crowd is also wanting to see Sierra play.
That's true.
Yeah,
Speaking of
I
crowd,
think we might get Maria Sanchez start on Wednesday. This will be
I
the
think so.
third
Yeah.
match for like at least 60 minutes. Like I think I want to see what she can do for a full 60.
I think so too. I think she's gonna get a start. And I think this could be the game that we see her just shine and perform and see the Maria Sanchez that we all want to see, whether it's people in the press box, people in the stands, people taking photos. Like everyone wants to see what she can do here in San Diego. That first goal that she scores is going to be something special, especially if it's a Snapdragon.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to get to see Maria get the start. And I mean, who knows, right? She could even potentially like end up wearing a captain armband down the line if players keep getting injured. The way they pass that thing around, like it's bound to come in Maria's arm as well.
Hey, you might get it, Ryan. Just be on the lookout.
He walks out with the players.
Speaking of supporters, we're going to have the call of sirens here in a couple of minutes. We're just going to wrap up here. Speaking of this upcoming game Wednesday, it's going to be an interesting matchup, a trap game perhaps. But if you get this win,
you love yourself a good trap game.
I do because it creates chaos. I like chaos, and sometimes it's not the best for the local teams or whatever, but it is what it is. But then there's also going to be a match over the weekend against Gotham. It's an important matchup. If there's strong matchups, it's those two. The first time meeting in the actual season.
Another low scoring team.
The last time they met it was the Challenge Cup, not in the NWSL League run of games, but
Unity Shield.
But yeah, so it'll be very interesting. We'll definitely. I want to get more insights on just kind of what you're seeing at training, because I know you told me that there was some positives about Maria Sanchez that you're kind of seeing. I have that fear in your eyes. I was like, where is he going with this? Got it. I got you. But no, it'll be something good to touch back on, because that's very important for people to know, kind of that behind the scenes aspect. It's not necessarily spoken of. And then we'll touch back on the press conference that we had with Casey Stoney today. But with that, Abe, I'm gonna put you away for a little bit. You're good with that, because we will go ahead and bring it on our guests for Call the Sirens. We're gonna go ahead and have them introduce themselves. Every 2 weeks we have a representative from the official San Diego Wave supporter group, the Sirens, just kind of giving their experience, their take on stuff. You were out there for the watch party, so we can have a good discussion about that. So that's right, we have a little we're gonna go ahead and bring on the call. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Sean.
I'm Sean Drusik. I'm the spirit coordinator for the San Diego Sirens.
El espíritu de los Sirens, de las sirenas, de los sirenos. Welcome on to San Diego Football, 2 balls and a mic. Unfortunately, you were listening to a lot of not necessarily positive, not necessarily negative, just the reality of San Diego Wave in this last match. Do you have any thoughts on what you saw over at Fair Play on those screens?
It wasn't fun, that's for sure. It was scrappy. It's the way the games against Reign seem to go. This one a little bit sloppier than most. At least we got a win earlier this year against them, but this was tough. I love though seeing a place full, packed with people, packed with Wave fans. When we did score a goal, cheering and high-fiving, and people exciting. That's great. You got a great photograph. Ryan took a great photograph of us all outside. There are like 60 of us out there. Yeah, there you go. That's great. That brings a lot of energy. I think, even in a loss, that sort of invigorates you to have that going when it's a watch party. And Fair Play does a good job of getting us on their screens and creating a good environment for us to be at.
Absolutely. No, I remember, talking with you a little bit, and then I was talking with a couple others, and I feel like this environment sort of has been there from the start in terms of, I was talking with Mackenzie Doniak and Kennedy Wesley today, because we did a little merchandise photo shoot, and I was telling them about the environment the Sirens have all created there. And I said, it's not like they're just showing up and everybody's just there. I was like, everybody's like hanging on every touch, or like if you get a couple good passes, you get the oohs, the ahs. I know maybe the last 2 watch parties have not been the most pleasant complete viewing experience, but I know, Sean, I was talking to you a little bit during this match, and you were saying in terms of some of the vision that you were hoping the players to see, or finding the open pockets, and I feel like you do a really good job of kind of detailing the like true soccer stuff. So I almost want you just to like sort of dive into that and be like, hey, I like, while I was watching this match, I wanted to see them do this, or I feel like they weren't getting to this point and they can get there if they, like, do you feel like it's just a continuity thing because there's so many new players, or is it like you just want to see them open it up more in terms of their playing style?
Yeah, a little bit of new players, a little bit of just they haven't played as much with this team together, maybe. I don't know. The teams had a hard time breaking the press. Like they get trapped in the back and they can't get out of it. That was a big problem against Orlando. It was kind of a problem against Louisville. And you would have thought when they went up a player that they could get out of the back and they could start to build and be able to at least put shots on frame. But they still had trouble. Rain, to their credit, was like still pressing them, even down a player. They just kept pushing them and made Wave uncomfortable. And there were open players at times, and there was open space, and they had to take that, and they never really adjusted. Like I could understand in the first half where it's like, oh, Rain's is not gonna absorb pressure. They're still gonna put the pressure on. That they would have had to go into halftime and adjust and get some instruction and be like, okay, when this happens, you got to do this, or we got to go long, or bring in Ali and go over the top, or something like that. Like, but it didn't happen until maybe like the last 10 minutes or so, and by then it was a little too late. So it was frustrating, but I don't know. I've tried not to think about it too much. I try to put that behind it. We got 2 games coming up real fast, and I just want to like put that loss behind and think I'm going to bring energy on Wednesday. I'm going to bring energy on Sunday, and so should the rest of the Cove, because we need wins. And the best thing we can do right now as the supporter section is to support them in those 2 games.
We're talking a little bit on the field stuff and what the players can do, and you touched on it a little bit. And Sean, you can give us a better idea, or just a more educated just opinion on it, right? Do you think Wave have that strong of a home field advantage? And if so, like, what's the key to that? You'd being, in charge of the spirit, literally in that area, and being the loudest group in the stadium. That sometimes it's cavernous with 35,000 seats, but still that section is always going. It's always pumping. Do you think that there's a real home field advantage, and what's the key to that?
I mean, I think almost all of soccer has a home field advantage, but I've definitely, when it's packed. I mean, I've heard feedback from players. I think when a couple of the players first got here last year that had played on Chicago, and they played in the playoff game against Wave, that some of their comments were, I didn't want to play in that environment, like, or I wanted to, but I wanted to be on the other side. I wanted the fans that were screaming for me. So, and you get that from the big environment, but then just like other. But then when we might have to scale down to other games, or maybe like I don't know what the attendance is going to be Wednesday. I think the supporter section can be heard, and I think those players need that when they're not feeling it. When somebody's been hurt, or they've had somebody flopping around on the field like Fishlock was, or whatever, after every single little touch, then and they're frustrated, but they hear the fans trying to root them on, or they hear us after they've given up a tough play. Maybe it was a goal, hopefully not a goal. We're pretty good at keeping out goals at home, but that they hear us and they know they have something to play for. They have a reason to get motivated to keep going. Sometimes you need just a little bit of that. And sirens are always there, banging drums, chanting, making sure that those players can hear what we're doing. And I know they hear us on the field. And they've even told us, like, when there's been an injury or there's something where play stops, if they hear us chanting, it can get them fired up again. In the same way you and I in everyday life or whatever, it's like it's a slog if you don't have something that fires you up, and you got to have something that gets you that spark. They can't just like turn on their AirPods and like play their favorite song. We gotta be their favorite song to get them pumped at that moment.
It's the bubbles.
The bubbles, yeah,
I love the bubbles.
Bubbles are phenomenal. I think one of the favorite things that I've seen, especially I think the sirens help create, is there's been a couple, like, again, I think Wave overall, if you would stack up their home record, is probably pretty solid. But there's been a couple games where, they go down a goal and it's early, and like that dead air will hit, but then it's like you guys come in and it's even like a round of applause that then goes around the whole stadium or something, and like the positivity. And I think that's what I've enjoyed just seeing, as just like a spectator of it, is just even in those lower moments, you guys still have the wherewithal to be like, hey, we're going to lift this back up and it's okay. And I think it really has a huge effect, because you not only hear the players talk about it, it's a consistency that they talk about it. I think too, Casey always talks about it. So I guess, who is the rallying person within Sirens that's like, really, is it a group of you? Is it one of you that like really kind of just make sure you guys stay on top of those moments where you can really change the tide?
Yeah, I mean, whoever's the chant leader, like, it's sort of part of our chant culture. Some supporter sections want to go like a full 90 and have a set list or whatever, and just keep going. But we've always been we've always encouraged our chant leaders and our drummers to like find a moment, whether it's a corner kick or whether it's the players need some help from getting picked back up again, that we sort of encourage either the drum leaders or the chant leaders to figure out those times where certain chants are needed, or certain things that bring more energy are needed. So it'll probably be a little bit of me on Wednesday. It's been me in the past, and I'll definitely be looking for those when it's a corner kick, when it's a free kick. If it's a chance for Bombi to get her first direct kick goal, then we'll be chanting hard for that moment. And if it's where they need a big pick me up, then we'll have Dear SD Wave going, because that's our song we play when we want. It sounds like a fun song, but we do that for a reason. Like, it's fun, but it's because we want to change the tempo of the game. And yeah, Wave don't have a lot of comebacks in their history, at least not comeback wins, but they have a couple, and those ones, they score real fast after they've gone down, in those couple of times where it's happened, including some pretty big matches for us. So yeah, we'll be looking to try to get more of those if something bad does happen. But I'm hoping for goals against Utah.
Yeah, it truly is a team effort in every sense, and everything that the Sirens do and on and off the field has been outstanding. Just looking at that picture that you took, Ryan, just the growth of the supporter group to really kind of keep at a steady pace, but maintaining those members is incredibly important. And I think that, I mean, you're in charge of the spirit, right? But the spirit of the Cove, the spirit of the Sirens is something that people are really resonating with. It's fun. It's a great atmosphere. It's family friendly. And you can really tell that you guys are having fun. Everybody in that section is having fun. And at the end of the day, that's all it really matters, right? It's a silly game. It's better when Wave wins and your team ends up victorious, but ultimately it's just a commending thought for the Sirens and everything that they've done. Is there anything for the Sirens coming down the line? I know obviously we have 2 home matches, any sort of events. I know that there's the Asian American Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander month events this month, May. You guys highlighted some of those festivals happening around town, but is there anything else San Diego Siren specific?
Not particularly. I mean, we're focused on these next 2 home games. They come real fast for us. So I think the second one is Wave's official. I can't say the whole name, but the Asian Pacific Islanders,
Indian American, Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander.
Yeah, they'll be celebrating that one, and we'll do all we can to support that and any efforts they want to do there. Then it's after those 2, it's back on the road again. I mean, I'm going up to San Jose. I encourage anybody else to go to San Jose as well on the 17th. I think it's a Friday game, I know, but there's still tickets in our supporter section. We're going to bring up the drum. We're going to bring up some flags. It's going to be exciting. I know there's going to be. It's our first chance to like show our presence there. And then we don't have another home game after that till
games you'll be at, because they go to Bay FC and then it's Angel City after that, right?
Yeah, I'll go to Angel City. I'm going to Angel City. Well, I think we got a couple buses going up to Angel City for that one. That's a Thursday. We sold out what Angel City gave us as our allocation for supporter section. Not that they give us a ton, but they do that. So back-to-back away games where people are traveling. So that's gonna be super exciting. I love that the last year we did that last year. We had drums for that. We had flags. I think we got a bubble machine in there that got snuck in, or not snuck in, but got in there just the last minute. And yeah, it was fun. That was like Sophia Jakobsen's birthday. It was a game we won.
I remember that game.
I want to see that again.
That was a good win.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think bubbles are more harmless than latex balloons.
Oh, the Angel City support.
Yeah, I got to confiscate those. No, but again, get involved with the Sirens. You can check the Sirens website, sandiegosirens.com. Become a member, if you want a cool scarf and some cool goodies that go along with a paid membership, you can go ahead and do that. But there's also a free membership, discounted tickets here. Go ahead and explore all that. It's honestly a really good and great community that the Sirens have created, and kudos to you to really bring the energy and keep the tempo up, because that's a great representation of soccer in San Diego. And it's really being a pioneer in what's capable over at Snapdragon Stadium. So keep on doing it, Sean.
All right, thanks, man.
Perfect. Thank you, Sean.
Good to talk to you, Sean.
Have a good one.
Perfect. That was, you have it? You want to click it? You want to click it? That was. It's very different. This show used to just be the two of us. And it's just talking to each other, very insular, very just.
He used to almost fall asleep.
Yeah.
He did?
No, him.
Me.
Oh, really?
Because of the 400 poundage.
Yeah, I wouldn't get
earlier.
oxygen in here.
Like it
so
was pretty bad.
I would doze
Like,
off.
It was unhealthy.
Very unhealthy.
Says the most unhealthy person here now. But no, it's a really a great.
I mean, Abe's up there.
Abe told us he was 125 pounds at one point. So
is that true, Abe? You're coming on camera, so get ready. I
think he heard
realize that usually I have to give him a heads up, otherwise he's
I just want to give a shout out to Eric Fowler and my
Eric,
guy Dave.
Yeah, and you gotta.
They're hitting
chat's
up
popping
those
off,
comments.
isn't it?
I love it.
Chat.
I appreciate you guys.
You have a fan club. Shout out Eric Fowler. One time undefeated at Pechanga Arena. Halftime soccer celebrity match.
I mean, Eric spent more time on the turf than getting the ball. So
It's okay.
That's my teammate.
Dave almost scored.
David almost scored.
I put a silver platter on him and couldn't score.
Oh, we got a more in here.
Oh,
too.
wow.
It's game
I
over.
want to be there. Oh man, this is
My
San
favorite
Diego
person from
soccer.
TJ. Amor.
I'm not from TJ.
Where are you from?
LA.
Oh, gross. Gross.
No, I'm from the community, but I wear my Dodgers.
Yeah, you got called out. He's because on this Chrome Ball tour video that
Yeah, someone
it
called me
posted,
out.
they were like, "Oh, Chula says he's from the community, but he walks around in Dodger gear." I'm like,
Sorry, I
Damn.
like the team my dead grandparents.
Are you going
Love
to the games
Wow.
this weekend? The Dodger Padre games this
he's
weekend?
not a fan.
No, it's Mother's Day weekend, and I'm going to Rosarito
Uh,
for Mother's Day.
Is
Sounds
it
good.
Mother's Day for you guys too? America?
yeah,
It's the
yeah,
12th.
absolutely.
The 12th
Okay.
to Sunday is
12th.
Mother's Day.
Because yours guys is
Ours is Friday.
no, but
Theirs
yours
is the 12th.
yeah, but
Sunday.
your guys is like a day thing. Like it's always on the same day. Like Thanksgiving is on a Thursday. Mother's Day is always on a Sunday.
Sunday.
Yeah, it's
Yeah. Ours is easier. It's just the 10th.
Yeah, the 10th.
Can't fuck it up.
Yours is the second Sunday of May, right?
Yeah.
That's
I
too
like that.
complicated.
Where are you getting your mom?
I don't know. I haven't seen her since February.
Good.
Yeah, I don't know.
I went to Seize Candy.
Oh.
So we just went the other day and, picked out the chocolates.
Oh,
First time I've
nice.
ever been there.
What?
I know.
I'll
I
pick
know.
up the lobster bill in Rosarito.
Abe?
Have you ever had lobster in Rosarito?
No,
Oh,
I've never
man.
been to Rosarito.
Oh,
But the woman that
Man,
cuts my
Puerto
hair always
Nuevo?
talks about it because she has a Airbnb down there. So she's always telling me I got to go down there.
Are you a surfer? It's not a good time for
I'm not.
white
but
surfers to go to Rosarito.
I saw that story. I sent it to Jesse and Efren, and Efren said, "Of course, that's white news." And I said, "That's BBC Global News covered it."
Bro, that's every other week. Like
Yeah.
if their names weren't Barry and it was, I don't know, what's Spanish for Barry? Barry? I don't know. I picked up
Raul?
randomly. If that were Raul, yeah, no, it's not BBC News.
Yeah, I know.
All right. Abe, what are you getting What are you doing for Mother's Day?
You guys kind of reminded me. I gotta start thinking about that.
Oh my
Like a very
gosh,
good son.
that's
I'm
such
not
a
prepared.
great-
I
Oh, no,
prepare
man.
like last minute for those, and it's
Bring
always
her the
alright.
wave game.
Yeah, there you go.
So what you do?
Maybe.
Hit up Trader Joe's, get the cheap flowers, make a nice bouquet.
You had to throw cheap in there. You could have just said
Wow.
flowers.
Wow.
Could have just said flowers.
They're great quality flowers. At Trader
Cheap
Joe's.
flowers? The cheapest flowers, the most wilted ones.
They're
Oh,
actually
look.
nice.
Oh, look, Mom, they're already blooming. That's not what you do. You gotta. Do you know how to pick flowers?
I just
I
buy
don't
them.
think so. I don't think so.
You just buy them.
Yeah.
I have a flower guy, so I'll let you know. I legitimately have
I
a
have
flower
a
guy.
flower.
Jordan Chavez is dead.
Jordan Chavez. Do you mean Eastlake Soccer League UPSL legend, currently leading the team in scoring? Jordan Chavez.
For Fuego?
No.
Ciso with Fuego?
No.
No, he's UPSL.
He's
Eastlake
UPSL.
FC.
He's
San
down.
Diego.
He's down here now.
Yeah.
At UPSL.
Oh, hell
yeah.
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 Oh yeah.
We saw.
He's like just whooped San Diego Internacional the other day, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
Yeah, they did.
5-0,
Your girlfriend's
5-1.
favorite soccer team.
Yep.
Yep. It was
That's
Yeah,
good
they
to know
did.
though. Jordan Chavez is one of my favorite guys here.
great lad. Great, good
Yeah.
guy.
Oh my gosh,
Fuego's
phenomenal.
legend.
All right, Abe. I'm gonna put you. You want to be here? What do we need to touch?
What are we-
Okay,
what
let's
are we
just
talking about?
finish Wave. Because there was a press conference today.
There was a press conference today.
You, Chiva, and Abe were on there. Anything pop up? Anything questions wise? Like I have the video, but like to scroll and
Yeah,
to
no,
see
I
another.
honestly, I
angle-
don't think anything too like newsworthy came out of that press conference, Abe. I don't know if
Health
you
update.
disagree or anything. I think
Health
health
update.
update. The only thing is that all those players that were hurt are still hurt.
Mm.
That's like
So
the
you're not
biggest
going to
thing.
see Germa.
You're not gonna see Germa. You're not gonna see Morgan, Dahlkemper, Barcenas. You're not gonna see any of the players that are still injured. To my understanding, is it might be a while for them to come back. So I mean, even if for the U.S. Women's National Team for the Olympics, now you're kind of peeking your head in. It's like, okay, well, are these players gonna be ready for the Olympics? Because if you're, it's like you're thinking, oh, okay, well, I need to kind of rethink who I'm calling up now.
Is there another camp at the end of the month? Because there's a little bye I know between like the 23rd and the 7th for Wave not playing, so I just didn't know if that lined up.
I
with
think it's
another
the
national
first
team.
week of June.
Okay, yeah, so that makes sense.
That sounds. I feel like there's U.S. Women's National teams send away matches in the first week of June.
So did
Yeah,
you get
they're
a
playing South
sense?
Korea.
Did you get a sense that some of these players are probably not even going to be back by May 23rd, or do you think like, hey, maybe they're going to come in and be able to play either at Bay C or at Angel City before they go to camp?
I think they're not going to come back.
I think that if you're Abby Dahlkemper, she's probably the most at risk of losing that spot, and she kind of has to come back. Like she was not like after that Mexico game in the Women's Gold Cup, they didn't really play her at all because that was pretty poor performance from the U.S. Women's National Team. So I think
I think it's safe to say Dahlkemper is not going to go to the Olympics.
Yeah. Almost like what Korniak Flint I know got injured and then sort of lost her spot. So I can sort of see that, Abe, where you're saying like, yeah, if anybody has to maybe feels a little, I guess, I don't know if pressure is the right word, but to come back and show
100%.
good form, it would probably, I mean, Abby would be a huge boost. I feel like coming back from that really tough injury that she had to rehab for a very long time. I mean, I feel like she came back and added such a dimension to the back line, especially her passing out of the back. So I think that would obviously be a huge boost if they can get her back, even if it's those road games right before the break. What do we have a prediction on? I love doing score predictions.
Dude,
I know. I
okay.
don't know if this is a big soccer thing, but I guess like who do you think?
Depends on the yeah.
Okay.
I love predictions.
I want to hear you guys say who has the most to prove on Wednesday, and who do you think has the biggest impact on Wednesday?
Whoa. I mean, it depends if Maria Sanchez starts, right? Because if Maria Sanchez, I feel like she has the most to prove. Like, I think she still needs to buy in and just win Casey over. So I think Maria Sanchez has the most to prove, especially if she gets that start. But I mean, I think Mackenzie Doniak should be taking it away. I think like all eyes are on Mackenzie Doniak right now. I think she is the best player in the team. So, I mean, I'm very excited to see both of them.
Let's see.
I would say Savannah McCaskill has the most to prove for this match. I mean, as a midfielder, she hasn't scored yet. She can score. I think maybe this is the opportunity here to kind of prove to us that she can meld well with this front line and trying to get a goal. So that's what I would vote for.
Is it her job to score though?
I don't think so, but
she can, and
can.
with her,
She built up great play.
yeah, but
Leads to goal.
with her ability to create space and be that special player, and knowing that she's like a midfielder that can score, leading scorer at Angel City for a reason, right? Like she creates her own fortune in that sense, and I think she needs to capitalize on that. And if that just means one of two things, it's either she takes more shots when she has those windows of time, or she has to rely on getting a pass off, or getting a pass returned to her from somebody else, right? But then you're kind of depending on another person to reflect and have that same idea that you have. But usually when you're kind of in that solo mindset, you're thinking of that solo mindset. It's either one or the other. You're either going to go ahead and drive and be that focal point and try to score on your own, or you're going to just rely on somebody else. It's like a gear. Like you can't necessarily be on both gears at once. Some players usually switch very quickly, but I think if she kind of gets in that goal scoring mentality, the other aspects of her game might falter. And so that's when Casey needs to be ready to supplement that in some way and have the rest of the team step up to help the creative McCaskill to come out.
Score prediction, I got 2-1 Wave.
2-0.
Wave.
Yeah. That's
clean sheet too.
a clean sheet. There's a clean sheet coming up.
I can see a 1-0 win for Wave, like maybe an early goal, and then it just kind of goes back and forth. But I think Wave take it 1-0. I think they get the clean sheet as well.
Yeah, and I mean Gotham's also on Sunday too. So if you guys want to predict what happens in that game, because Gotham are kind of the same spot in the standings as the Wave. They've had similar issues with U.S. Women's National Team players. They have a lot more than the Wave do, but they've been kind of slowly cycling them in. I think Crystal Dunn came on in the 80th minute for Gotham, which just seems like a crazy thing when you have Crystal Dunn on your team.
Yeah.
So I don't know about you guys, but what do you guys think for Gotham this weekend?
I feel like, right, they were the team that won the offseason, that were making all the headlines, right? Yeah. They were getting the names. I found it very interesting that Dunn, left Portland to go there, but I think there's some connection out on the East Coast for her, so maybe it made sense. But yeah, I watched them play. I forget who it was the other week, but for a team that maybe has that star power, and maybe you could say the same thing right about Wave because of the injuries, like they're not playing to that perceived star power right now. But I'm curious to see, because I missed that Challenge Cup game at the beginning of the year. I'm wondering if that mix of players that played in that match, if this match is going to sort of equal what that experience was, or you guys feel like this is going to be very different?
I think it's a clean slate. Like I think that tournament cup challenge cup is just so isolated that everybody's kind of moved on and prepared because it's not part of the new season, right? It's almost like an exhibition game, an extra exhibition game with a trophy at the end, and you could say you have silverware, right? So I don't think it's necessarily something that Gotham's keeping in the back of their mind, like, oh, we got to get them back, we got to do this. It's not like they've lost during the season that's impacted them for their potential to move into the playoffs this current year. So that doesn't mean that there's not going to be players that are going to play a little bit more intensely and want to get that one back overall. But Gotham is a middle of the road team. It's as basic as it gets. -1 goal differential. They're not scoring a lot. They're not getting a lot of goals scored on. They're not necessarily exciting team in any sense of the word. But
losing Midge obviously crushed them because their attack was built with her in mind.
Exactly. And so you got to then adapt. If you have a whole team revolving around a majority of one player, you have to be able to maneuver some other way. And it takes growing pains to do that. It's a matter of real-time minutes. You can train all you want for it, but when it comes to the real game, how well is your team going to adapt when the game starts? 100%.
I think, take away the stars, and I think Wave has a better team than Gotham. So I think I can see Wave pulling off a back-to-back win, but the way they're playing, it's hard to predict that, right? I can see them maybe tying this game just because they're playing at home, and we just talked about that environment, that Snapdragon, but I don't want to say, oh, they pull off 2 back-to-back wins. I hope it happens because it'd be great for the team, but I think they get a tie against Gotham, if anything. And I think it might be another low-scoring match. Great. 3-3 match. Cool. Low-scoring teams, and we get 6 goals in a game. Like, that's awesome. But I'm more excited about Wednesday's games than I am for Sunday's game.
Yeah. I think both are huge. They're, nobody, I hate the word must win, but like, they're not going to be at home again till June 7th after this stretch.
Yeah.
And I think just for the momentum of the fan base and kind of washing out the taste of, the road match in Orlando, the road match in Seattle, knowing that they're going to go to Bay and Angel City, which are, huge matches, really. I think it'd be great to bank 6 points. Obviously that's easy to say, but I think having 2 home matches after what happened in Seattle is, to me, the perfect recipe to get to 6 points. I'd probably be a little more fearful if they were back on the road, especially if they had to travel out of state. But I think the great thing of these next 4 matches is you're not traveling out of state. It's short travel. I don't even think they fly. They don't fly up to LA, but they'll fly up to Bay. But I
hope they do.
I know they stay overnight, and like talking to Mackenzie today, she said today was a little bit longer, and like I've come to know Wave, and they're very particular about how long they're training, how long each section of their training is, and they really are player centric on making sure they maximize but don't burn out anything in training. And she said today was a long training session, which I'm guessing was probably more instruction and install of what they're going to do with Utah. And then, it seemed to be a longer film session of kind of maybe reviewing the things that, they kind of want to correct and then obviously attack with Utah. But I think, to the last point of you mentioning something about what I shared with Maria to you, I think last week, she was the first field player out to training when I was there late last week. And it just stuck out to me because, like usually you have a lot of the younger players being the first ones out, they'll carry the water bottles and everything. And, like to her credit, like Sierra Engie is like usually always that player, but I thought it was very interesting. And I even told it to Maria and maybe it caught her off guard. She just kind of looked at me like, yeah, like we're training today, but I was like, like, wow, you're like the first one out here. And, it was just kind of like, yeah,
that's what we do.
Like what we do. But she's always, like the last probably 2 years, they've sort of limited the amount of extras they would do. That first year, it's like they would be doing shots all the time. And it was my favorite because you can get really good photos selfishly. But, like last year, they kind of like geared that down. And this year they seem to have, maybe I'm just there on the right days where they maybe get 5 minutes, and it's whether she's working on little spots outside the box or whether it's just shooting, she's always doing stuff. So I think, she's probably still integrating herself into the team. Like I know you're talking, we want to see more of her, but I think, she sort of has a different personality than I thought. Maybe I saw too many of her celebration photos. So I thought she had this crazy loud, Renee Cuellar personality. And she told me, she goes, I'm the opposite of Renee. She said Renee is wild in a good way, but so it's been sort of cool to see her cool, calm demeanor. And she says, I'm shy to begin with. And I think to your point, what a better coming out party if she gets some more minutes, Wednesday. I would assume she's going to get more minutes because with Wednesday and Sunday turnaround. But if she can have that impact, even if it's an assist, I think if you get her going, that's going to create a lot of momentum, I think, and confidence right within the team to know that she knows, hey, I'm coming here. I have, this big transfer fee and all this anticipation.
Yeah, there's expectations on it.
Yeah. So I and I think to me and just Maria I've come to know and been around, I go like, oh, she seems like she has that calm confidence that I see that impact coming sooner than later.
And it's building consistency. Like that's the one thing I think this team needs is that you had a great high with the Bay FC home win. And then after laying down to Orlando and then you're like, okay, cool. Then this is going to continue to happen. And then they play against rain and it just kind of all crashes down. And so how are you going to start building that confidence, that consistency where if you win on Wednesday, you're going to be able to carry that? And that's always a big question that I have in the post-match conferences. And it's cool to get the Casey Stoney response of like, oh, well, how are you going to bottle this? How are you going to take this energy and keep it going for next week or the next couple games? And last time she had a good response of like, well, I'm just going to start with a bottle of wine. Great. Excellent. Fantastic. Great. Let's move that way. But what are we, moving towards with this same energy? How are you going to become consistent? Because if you're going to win in an emotional way and it's the highest of highs, but then have absolute drudgery for another match, the next match after, it's not necessarily helping you. That's not how you build a solid squad. And you don't have an identity. I don't think this team necessarily has an identity and hasn't had it. They were building it when everybody was healthy, but because of the injuries, because of the breaks, I think that broke down a little bit. And so it's a matter of finding exactly who they want to be and having the players. They have talent. They have the pieces, but how are you going to go ahead and put those pieces together to get yourself a win in a way that you can then also transfer into more than one game against multiple opponents? Because it doesn't seem like the adjustment is necessarily happening on a opponent basis, because your mistakes and your weaknesses are still your weaknesses. So it's not like you can adapt those with different players because you can't be so selective. But I don't know what you think, Abe, to close us out.
Nah, I agree.
Cool.
I last point I think I'll make is talking to McCaskill at the board of UIMCA, she said there's a lot of players on the team right now getting used to playing the amount of minutes that they're playing, whether that's in a professional setting, whether that's a Maya Jones. I think somebody, to your point about like these matches and when you have players down, I think going back to the last home win, it's like you had Adoniak go early, right, and then you had Elise Bennett come on, and I think her and Jaden have just great off the pitch chemistry too. They seem to be friends, and I think seeing that pass that Elise had that literally megged the Bay FC player and set Shaw up. So I think in these types of matches, right, you need these contributions from maybe players that usually might not play a big role when you have this whole team back. That I feel like Chiva gave the all-star lineup, and then you're like, holy crap, all those players are on wave. But I think if there's a player that I'm looking forward to this home stretch, it's Elise Bennett, just because she seems to she has now enough games within this team that, to me, it's like, hey, you've had a couple years in the league, and, not that I'm not calling her out, but it feels like no. But like, I'm excited to see, because I think she can play a big role in the chemistry she has built with the team, her teammates, because she's a very outgoing personality. And I think she has a very infectious energy that, especially at home, can, you mix the crowd with that. And hopefully, she's in a position to make a difference again this game.
I love it. I like that we get to talk about games, because this is what's happening. And again, I mentioned it to you last week. Like, I was asked, like, well, why did you guys start with SDFC? Well, because SDFC is not playing and fielding, a team right now.
We like to talk about the top level soccer.
And 100% top level soccer in San Diego, in the
I gotta leave
of San Diego Wave at Snapdragon Stadium, the best tenants soccer wise currently at Snapdragon Stadium. Period.
Multi-purpose stadium.
Do you want to get in? I mean, we'll move into these kinds of conversations, because I know people from what I've come to understand and have been understanding for a while. There's ears, there's people listening, and we appreciate that 1,000%, because the San Diego Soccer Podcast, San Diego.Futbol. Get your news,
what's
get everything.
That Messi celebration?
The Topollillo, the Riquelme. You don't need to do that, Abe. You don't need the hands.
He's just relaxing.
All right, Abe, where can people find you? Where can people just see your great work?
Yeah, on all social media, it's at Abe_Zepeda, and on San Diego.Futbol for all my writings and stuff. I believe I'm trying to work on a feature article on Kennedy Wesley, because she got a lot of quotes and stuff that we got to talk to her a lot this weekend, and she's been a very interesting player, and she's actually looked really good in that center back position. So I'm going to give a little deep dive. Look out for that. Maybe Tuesday night, Wednesday morning.
Awesome.
Abe, I have this is just maybe a thought, just right. There's all this like Stanford. Have you ever talked to the Stanford coach and sort of like found this like recipe of like, right, Gurma, Engie, Wesley, they've all had impact. I'm just curious because I feel like that would be a cool story maybe to like see how, if there's any similarities too between like what their coach would say and sort of like the tenets of what Stoney likes.
He's an Oregon duck. He hates Stanford.
No, I've been always wanting to work on this story about the Pac-12 and the death of the Pac-12 because I talked to Elisa Bennett about it a little bit too because she went to Washington State, which Cougars suck, but I think that's like such an interesting thing. It was one of the best soccer women's soccer conferences in the country, and it kind of got ruined by men's football. And it's like, how now we're gonna see Pac-12 like it's all split up and super weird now. And we
don't need to see Wisconsin and UCLA play. I don't like that.
No,
that makes no sense for women's soccer either. You were playing all on the West Coast. It worked completely fine, and now it's all gone to crap. So that is a great idea, though. I definitely need to be contacting all the formerly Pac-12 people, but the Oregon coach, I don't love the Oregon's women's soccer team. The Oregon coach got in some hot water for some coaching tactics, so not the biggest fan of the Oregon women's soccer team. But
I like this. When you get bigger, rich, and famous, then I can't wait to read those stories written by you, Abe, who bullied me on Saturday. Don't cock your head like that.
At Chromeball?
At Chromeball,
I bullied you?
He came up and just surprised me, looked at me, and had backup with a significant other next to him, and kind of brought the muscle and was like, "Hey, you better start writing." I was like, "Oh shit!" Like,
yeah, that's not bullying. That's not bullying. That's motivation. I think because you brought up writing. You brought it up. You're like, "Oh yeah, we're writing now," and I'm like, "We're writing. I'm writing."
See,
okay,
look at that.
I'm writing.
Like
you
this.
need to.
You don't want me writing.
No, Chiva can write too. I believe in Chiva, right? Write
Spanish. It's a can factor. Like, can he write?
Yeah, anybody can write.
Yeah, no.
I've seen your emails. Your emails are very, very fancy. I like them.
Excuse me?
Yeah, no. I mean that
those are not his emails.
Oh, those aren't his
emails.
I've
sent some, but with
Chat GPT,
AI support.
Yeah, great.
Yeah,
that's taking the jobs of great men like Abraham away. All right, stop using that.
Yeah, man, it's free.
Abraham's not. As I just sent him Apple Pay.
So wait, how was Chromeball?
Chromeball was.
It happened.
All right, don't down.
No, it was good. I liked it. I had fun. I mean, I live in Chula Vista, so I really enjoyed it because I am a community member, despite supporting the Dodgers. Apparently, that's a big no-no here in San Diego. I don't know if you knew that, Ryan.
I've learned. Yeah, that rivalry is pretty hot.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know why.
What was your favorite thing about Chromeball? Just the fact that they had the whole Third Avenue blocked off? Or
I really liked seeing the soccer happen on the street. Like, I mean, it's just a street that most commonly is just drunk people at night crossing it, jaywalking it to go eat tacos or other things, right? But I've never really seen pickup soccer happen on the street on 3rd Avenue. So I thought that was pretty cool. I thought that there was a stage like right in front of the 3rd Avenue sign. That was pretty awesome because every take you took, every video you got the 3rd Avenue sign, which they just redid it as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they just made it like look more like neon-y. Yeah, I don't know if it was for the event. I'm pretty sure it was already in the plans. It was already there. But yeah, for like I want to say 2-3 weeks, the street was blocked off in the mornings to construction. They were fixing up the sign. So I thought the stage on 3rd Avenue was also pretty cool. So I mean, I had fun. I went for a little bit in the day. Then we had to go do Inter. Came back at night. Enjoyed the concerts. It was a good time. I mean,
San Diego FC, your Twitter media needs to. We're trying to give you props. Had some great visuals, but there's nothing on the media. That's.
Oh, you want longer?
Not even longer. Like, hey, you had Lil Rob. Like, this is.
Well, yeah. I mean that's meant to that's sort of like the new age thing that happened a couple years back, where like when you close out
Yeah,
of it,
but-
it's just
yeah,
Third
and,
Avenue
like-
sign. Then you click on it. You got to look
That's
at that.
because
on the
you
feed.
got to look on the feed, not on the media
Yeah.
page.
But you want like a recap video?
No, just like highlight, like because I know they have the
So
videos
look
on
how
Instagram.
that looks pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that looks pretty cool. But other than this picture here, There's nothing
I have
else.
noticed
uh-huh.
if there's a priority of resources with their posts, it's obviously Instagram over X.
Okay.
So
I
I'm
think
guessing
so.
there's probably more on Instagram.
This Bonita Dinosaurs content though was hilarious, and I give them props for that. So many of my friends that like don't care about soccer at all were just all of a sudden cared about this just because I don't know what it is about these dinosaurs, but they are the best thing in Bonita.
That was good. That was like
Bonita.
that's like my favorite kind of social where it's just like we're gonna try something and we're just gonna go for it.
Yeah,
And
I was
also-
scared that they were going to move them because they made it seem like the dinosaurs were going to go to this event, and I would have been there rioting if that happened. Like, you cannot move those. You cannot move those dinosaurs. Okay, they're supposed to stare at the Jack in the Box and the Roar Park across the street, and that's it. They have to stay there.
What
Is that their real names? Or they just assigned them names?
No, they have real names.
Yeah.
Is it
But-
Rumbi? Is that it? Like
the one
I
on
think
the
so.
left almost looks like Doraemon. Do you know who Doraemon is? Japanese cartoon. Doraemon.
that sounds so
Never mind.
familiar.
That's way
No,
too
no, no,
that's way too niche for this
the
He's gonna
DR
look
what?
it up. Like he's gonna
I am.
know.
Doraemon. I don't know how to spell it.
Draymond Green. I knew he was gonna pop up.
Google it. Not Draymond Green. We'll do it offline. We'll do it offline.
Okay,
But
got it,
I would
yeah.
say like what's when you guys hear people talking, whether or not it's people you see
Yeah, it's disappeared. I think it's just me on the stream.
people saying, especially right, they don't have it. They don't have the luxury of having players announced yet
Mhm.
outside of Duran. I don't want to not mention
Yeah.
Duran, but like when you don't have games, you're far out. Obviously, these community events are what is going to first expose people to the brand. So, what are you guys hearing when people are there?
I honestly think that this event, and I shared it with a lot of the staff of San Diego FC, because just knowing the behind the scenes, first of all, like congratulations to everybody who helped put this together, because it's a monumental task. Like they've been working on this since before January. Just literally, it takes a lot to get the permits to shut down the main city street of the largest growing and fastest growing city in the United States for the past decade and a half. And so it was a great event, and I truly think that they tapped into something that hasn't been tapped into before, and we saw it at the Let's Kick It party to begin with.
Mhm.
And again, I don't mean to necessarily pin this on like a racial thing, or like it's the Mexicanos or Mexicans, but like they tapped into that avenue literally, where it's the easiest thing to do to have these free events and have them be big and really
party.
highlight it. And it was a party at the end of it, right? Like I saw people who were incredibly sad in Vegas because Lovers and Friends got canceled, and I'm over here watching Lovers and Fools with Lil Rob at the at night, and you got the puffs of certain herbs coming out from the street, and people drinking, dancing. I was dancing. I got caught dancing. The director of marketing has a video of his significant other, and I'm just like an idiot in the background.
It was
dancing
fun.
cumbia. It was fun. And I think that's something that they have done incredibly well, is really tap into a market that not a lot of professional soccer teams have, including San Diego Loyal. And that's something that they always strive for, and they tried to get into it. Clearly, it was a different, maybe north of the 8 type of crowd, and they tried to come into the South Bay here and there, but again, emphasis on try, where SDFC is doing.
Mhm.
And they're doing things the correct way. It would have been cool had they bought the rights and showed the Canelo fight simulcast. Like that would have been really cool at the end of the day. But in all of this, like I got there at 12 as soon as it started. Right, it started at
I think the game, like the CBPD against the firefighters,
Was at
like,
11.
That was like a 10ish, I
Yeah.
think.
Shout out to firefighter Trevor, who we connected, and we'll try to connect here soon. He listens to the episode. He stopped me at a Walmart one day.
You're famous, man. I remember you called me after that.
I did. And they connected for that. And these events are really cool to reflect what the community is. And I think that's what they're doing a good job. Escondido, I didn't know a lot of the population of Escondido. I went to the event. I saw the community come out. I'm like, got it. I get the gist of it. I get what the soccer culture and the family aspect is. Chula Vista is our backyard, so we know exactly who's there already, and to have that reflected in this event throughout is really cool. It seemed like a carnival almost, and that's not even in any sort of negative sort of way. I love me some carnivals. I love me some.
Oh, look, there's Trevor.
Oh, there he is. Shout out
Trevor. Also, Jeff, what do you mean? What is going on right now?
Jeff, just talking Chrome
Jeff,
Ball Tour.
Jeff Abramovitz.
I think something that could have happened in this Chrome Ball Tour. I mean, I got there a little later, like around close to like 1:30, 2 p.m. And everything was already going on. I don't think this is to any fault of SDFC, but I think they could have worked more with the city, because I think Chula Vista, they do post a lot on Instagram. I think they have a good following of the community on Instagram, and they didn't post anything about the event. Speaking to the owner of like a brewery down the street, not between F and G.
Yeah, who's your pal? You're a regular there.
I'm a regular over there, and
Checolico.
just speaking to him after on my walk back to my girlfriend's house, and said, hey, like, I don't think the city or the team didn't give any of us a memo that this event was going to go on. Like they worked there on 3rd Avenue all the time, and they didn't know this event was going to happen. Yeah, they saw the little flags, but they didn't know when. They didn't know like what it was about. I think could have been marketed a little better.
Sorry, Jeff. That was me.
No, it's all
good.
But anyway, I mean, I would have loved to see the local breweries on 3rd Avenue on that beer garden. Like, you go to 3rd Avenue. 3rd Avenue is known for having so many breweries, some like really great, amazing beer. Like, you have Three Punctails, you have Groundswell, you have La Nacional now there. I think you could have worked with those breweries and restaurants to have them. I'm sure they have a contract with the food trucks and everything that they've been going to the Chrome Ball tours, but all these restaurants, all these breweries, they participate in other community events. Chula Vista has a food festival every year where everyone participates. They have tents, they have tables, and everyone's just trying everybody's food. I think something like that would have been amazing. I don't think you need to have all the food trucks, everything. You have Tacos El Vaquero there. You have Hibachi Kings. You have a burger place, that truck there now. So there's so much stuff that happens on 3rd Avenue that I feel like they could have included as well. Not going to say that kills the event. The event was still phenomenal. I thought it was a great event, but I think they could have gone a little deeper when it comes to 3rd Avenue, especially with those companies like the breweries.
As a non-3rd Avenue native, as a non-3rd Avenue anything, I think it was fine. I see Coach Trevor, I message you if you want to come on, because I do want to just kind of pick your brain about just that event and how that came together, the first responders. So I sent you a link. Let me know if you're interested in that. But Abe, I know that you also went, and again, you assaulted me verbally. But what was your experience on there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big event person. Just, I don't know, big crowds. I'm always kind of a weird thing for me. But I had a good time. It was fun to see. It was a little weird though. I just walked up, kind of saw everything. It was good. Wasn't there to really drink because I got there before the beer garden opened, I think. So it was just like, okay, well, now don't really know what to do. Just watch a little bit of soccer, but got to see some of that. Well, now that I think about it, I did see, there's some of my friends that I've seen like in those street soccer events that don't really go to soccer games and are just getting involved, whether they're like with the East Lake Soccer League here in Otay Ranch, like they're just at these SDFC events and getting to play like at a lot of these Chrome Ball Tool things. And it's just a cool opportunity in that sense. So I'm like to see that, just see some of my people that can not really name an MLS player, but other than Messi, but then we'll see this and be like, hey, maybe I'll go to a game, Guess it probably works a little bit.
I think to your point about trying to get more businesses involved, and I say this just from my experience on the team side. I feel like people on the team side are working so fast and juggling so many things that sometimes it's a shock when you reach out to these companies and it takes them a week to respond to an email, or if like you do the whole walk in, right, and you don't get the right person, they're like, oh, our manager's out or our owner's out, they'll get in contact with you. And sometimes that, like, there's so many, I don't call it I guess, like, lack of better terms, red tape to jump through, that I'm even experiencing this with something that I wanted to shoot for this merchandise stuff with San Diego Wave. And I reached out to Swirl San Diego. It's a skate community, women's skate community here in San Diego. And they're pumped, but they also, it's like, they're curious, like, what it means, like, can they get paid for helping us out? Or if they can't get paid, what other things could we possibly do? And, in my head, I'm like, shoot, like, this is already going on. Not that it's bad, but like, it's already going on a week. So I think sometimes, I'm sure I think the best part about these things is it kickstarts the conversation for future events, or it gets these people all linked together. And, to your point about your friend being like, hey, we didn't know about this. It's like, well, now they know about it, right? Because it was there. And I think that's the best thing is, I don't think anybody, I'm sure if you ask SDFC, like, hey, are you loving every part of these events? And I think I don't even know if that's really a factor. I think the coolest theme is they're putting their resources in doing this stuff, right? In different parts of the city, this far out from playing. And whether it's getting connected with city officials or youth organizations, whoever it is, it's like they're doing work that I think even now, because how Wave had to start so abruptly, like Wave is still getting around to making, some of these connections. Or, when we were at Loyal, it's like, I don't think Loyal really hummed in terms of what they were doing in marketing really till, Travis Lamprecht came in and, was able to kind of like set up his marketing team. Cause, in the first 2 years, it was basically Jesse Beltran and myself and, Danny Miller. And we didn't maybe get the budget to spend stuff because you had the COVID years. So I think that's the one thing I just look at SDFC and I go, I don't know where the next one is, right? Because they'll probably hit another city down the road.
Yeah, they will.
I don't know if they've announced it yet, but
you got it. You're right.
And
like this, right? Like, this is what they're doing really
great.
well.
This is great.
Incredibly well, is really reflecting the community. The locals, soccer team, part of the Canchita, it's just mercenaries who've made a small fortune on winning these street flow events and SDFC tournaments. But it was really cool. Again, just being there very early, you start seeing the preliminary matches of some of the kids, the youngsters on that side of the street got really into it. The parents got into it. There was the matracas, matracos. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Good job. And again, that community aspect is definitely there, and the community is being showcased. And I think I'm more proud also of the community being able to represent itself, because again, like, something that comes up as time goes is that the community will start complaining about, oh, we're not getting represented. Well, there's a window of time where you're given the opportunity to represent yourself. Those walls and that window may close just because that's the nature of things, right? As the team grows, as the followers become from the couple of hundreds to thousands to hundreds of thousands, like, that's just a natural progression of these things. It's a business, but if you're able to get in with the business and just meld it in a holistic way, I think that's something that's very powerful. And events like this definitely are gonna help build that emotional stock, right? Because this is a team for San Diego, and they're going to areas where soccer hasn't really been represented in that same way. And to bring it here in the South Bay, I think is a really smart choice by them. This is admittedly by them the largest of the Chrome Ball stops on this tour, and I think they did it in a really big and great way where not too many people really have I don't want to say the courage, but it's like it's really true that it's not necessarily the most profitable sometimes. And I think that's where Wave might think that. And there's no shot on necessarily Wave, even though it kind of is. but it's like, go down. Like it prints you money. Like you've made fans for life. And that's one thing that I think SDFC is starting to really focus on and have an idea on is you're going to sell the stadium in the first year. You're going to have those season tickets. The premier seats at Snapdragon are sold out. Like you're getting taken care of. But it's those lifelong fans that are really going to be important for the sustainability of this team. And I think that's on a good track with the people that are in there. Again, Jerry, DK, even Seb, just everybody putting this effort together inside of the office. Paul to have something that's truly uniquely San Diegan. And somebody, and we'll get Mr. Trevor Flores on here just to get his take, as he was part of the first responders game that happened early on. Yes.
Just real quick. Next one is still in May. It's going to be in Vista. I don't have a date yet.
The home of Matt Hall.
Oh, okay. Home of Presidente Steve.
Now USD goalkeeper assistant coach.
Yes.
Matt Hall.
Yes.
In Chula Vista.
Correct.
Vista.
Abe, I'm going to put you away because we're going to have our guests really come on really quickly. And again, let me set this up again because I like hearing myself talk about myself again. I was shopping at Walmart on 8th Street, and I was in the Hawaiian shirt area because that's where I clothe myself Hawaiian shirt wise. And it's one of those things where it's just like, I wonder what's new today, or I wonder what's new this week. And, I'll usually find one or two. And then this gentleman comes up to me wearing a SDFC sweater. And, he identified, hey, Tony, we just have a great conversation. It was a great conversation there. I think it was on my lunch, but I'm just like, it's fine. Like keep it going. I like this. And talk about how, he listens to the show. His son's also involved in the soccer aspect, and he's a firefighter. In our job, I had just contacted the fire department to help out with our kiddos and have a visit. So it was a really opportune time to just kind of have that meetup. And so then it was announced that SDFC will have a first responders game. Mr. Trevor hit me up and was like, hey, I haven't heard anything. I'm like, okay, let me connect you. And I'm glad that this connection was made. So without further ado, let's welcome Trevor Flores to the show. How are you, sir?
Doing good. Thanks for having me on. Good to see you again, Tony.
Absolutely. I hope we're not taking away from an incredibly important job that you have. And thank you for doing what you do and keeping everybody safe here in Chula Vista and in the South Bay.
Yeah, no, not. This is a good time at night, so things kind of settle down a little bit. So I'm glad your show comes on late because I can actually watch it live sometimes when I'm at work. So that's great.
No, I really appreciate that. But so, okay, we make the connection. What happens from there? Just kind of take us. The team connects with you, connects with fire department in general, or how did that come together?
Yeah, so behind the scenes, so when I contacted you, it's because of the usual guys that I talk to around here that are big soccer fans, and on top of everything, like I'm giving them a call. Have you heard anything? Have you heard anything? And then finally, I talked to. We have a public information officer, a captain. His only job is, public events and getting us connected. And it turns out he had already been talking with San Diego FC. So kind of how you talked about how you and me organically met, San Diego FC and one of their guys over there, Jerry Jimenez, they were real big on San Diego FC because of the San Diego community should have some sort of military first responder presence. You see how big it is with the Padres that they do, the Soccers always do a shout out, and those turn into big events because San Diego naturally is a big community. So when I contacted you, it was still in the planning stages. And then, the whole thing just kind of came together. We reached out to PD, and before you knew it, we ended up with, almost 30 guys that were just so excited to be a part of this. And again, shout out to San Diego FC for having the foresight to team up with Chula Vista Fire Department to put this event together.
Trevor, I love seeing the little highlights from this match. I used to be in the infantry, and I remember some of the most fun times is, I remember on a deployment and during Thanksgiving, we all played football together. And I feel like sometimes it's rare where the people you work with, you get to kind of step outside your environment and be able to do this. So for just the crew, like what does it mean for when you guys are able to kind of participate in things like this, where it's like you get to step out of, being a firefighter for a second, and you just get to sort of have fun, but still with the crew that you're used to being around all the time.
Yeah, well, you really hit the nail on the head, because we don't do enough together off duty. We try to, and with every first responder group out there right now, like we're understaffed. We keep getting busier. It seems like we all keep missing each other. When you see those highlights, you see how happy everybody is, because except for a couple times a year when we might have like our union dinner or a Christmas get together, like these moments don't happen enough. And so some of the guys I saw there that day, I haven't seen, in months. I haven't worked with them on their rig, and some of our families were there. Matter of fact, my son, my nephew, and another one of my firefighters' sons, they were on the winning team, Aiden and Felix and Trevor, and they were excited because they grew up together in the fire department, and they were explorers together, and now they're looking at getting on the job also. So just that camaraderie and that togetherness, and doing something different. It's like all our passions just collided, and it was in our backyard. So many of us that work here have also made Chula Vista our home. So it's not just where we go to work, but it's where we live. It's where we grew up. It's where we raise our families. So I just can't believe like everything just came together. The soccer, the job, the families, and all in Chula Vista. It was an amazing day for everybody.
I don't think I got to see who ended up winning.
Yeah, it was the young team. It was the young guns. It was the kids that were fire explorers. One of them's now hired on our ambulances. The other two are in university, and they've got their eye on following their dads into the fire service also. So they never got to hold the plate at the end, because we were like the event before the event.
Mm-hmm.
But I did post the pictures on my Instagram and gave them a shout out, and I made it to the semifinal. The old guy team did. So
Hey,
That's
there
right.
you go.
That's right.
the other thing I got to mention too is USG18. It's the newest supporters group for San Diego FC, which is for first responders and military. And yeah, that was the team that I played in the first game, and all firefighters and paramedics and EMTs right there. But yeah, so that USG18, like this was their first event that they got to show up and have a pop-up in the supporter section. And yeah, that's our badge right there. So we're excited, because one thing this USG18 brings, besides it being, uniformed personnel, is we already have fans from around the country, because as you know, our military that are from San Diego that are supporting the team, but they are all over the country, all over the world, really. And it gives them a way to stay connected with San Diego and soccer. And man, we're just excited for that too. And Brian is the one that Enriquez is the one heading up the charge on that. So we're hoping to have a big presence.
And that's a highlight of what SDFC is doing right. The organic nature of these things happening. You were telling me just how, when usually you show up to the first meeting of one of these types of events, you end up coming out with a job, and that's what happened, right, Trevor?
Yeah. They had their first meeting at the El Cid Bar there in North Park, right next to the water tower, where Tony, I know you probably played a ton of games back in the day, and so I did too. So it was neat going back over there, and when they were putting that together, I didn't know it was the very first meeting. And so, everybody that showed up is kind of like, well, you guys we're relying on everybody to lift a little and volunteer and start wrangling. So, yeah, but it felt good. It felt like a supporters group that like really called to me. And I know you were talking about that too to me, Tony, at one time, was like, hey, get a part of a supporters group, find one that feels right. And yeah, I mean, obviously USG18 was a perfect fit. So
yeah, absolutely. See, it's not,
that is super cool.
There's glowing reviews on San Diego FC, on San Diego Punto Football, and Two Balls and a Mic. All right, it's not just critical analysis and nitpicking, like
not just trollmakers.
Man, people are listening in the office. I know you guys are listening. Let's clip this in your mental storage. But no, I'm glad that you enjoyed it, and literally like that's what I like seeing is that San Diego was represented well, the community represented well. People like Trevor, his family, his kids came up and fist bumped me. I was like, okay, sure, like we've known each other for forever, and it's a kudos to not only being able to have time and the stamina to play a match on the street. Like you guys look great out there. You guys look fantastic. So good job keeping the cardio up. But ultimately, like it's really a beautiful thing to see just soccer bring everything together like this, and hopefully it's going to keep growing. And we'll keep an eye on USGA 18 and just make sure that you guys are having that platform to, if any type of events or anything that you guys need, let us know, and we'll definitely help out in any way we can.
Absolutely. Totally appreciate it. I'll definitely connect you. Eric Martinez is the name of our PIO, our captain. And I don't know if I introduced you at the event, but yeah, he's one for sure. Another Chula Vista born and raised. And he knows all about what you guys are doing with San Diego Punta football, which I know I've given you plenty of kudos to. Thank you guys for really shining a light on the soccer community in San Diego. We really needed a home to go to, and it feels like this is the forum that's just like bringing it all together. But we've needed this, and you guys focus on everything soccer San Diego, from the pickup games to the professionals. So really appreciate everything you guys do. So
I'm gonna hire Trevor as my PR guy.
Like 100%. Do you like to write? No.
But Trevor, thank you for your time. We won't take any more of it. It's incredibly valuable what you do. And again, thank you for being an important member of the community here in the South Bay and in Chula Vista. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Trevor.
Good one, Trevor.
I wanted to get that in because again, like it's just so important to do that, right? Like it's just so cool. And why do we do this? It's because of that, I think. It's the same reason why we work where we work in a nonprofit and not make a lot of profit ourselves for the amount of work that people in that space do. But it's rewarding to be able to have that. And look, if people like hearing what we have to say, then I'm okay with that. And if they don't, that's okay too, because it's fine. Half the time I piss off parents because they don't like to hear that their children are demon spawn sometime, and they don't believe what they have at home.
They're always well behaved.
Yeah, my favorite is like, well, what did you guys do? What did you do? Oh, they need a male coach. Like, can you be here every day? It sounds like they need a father. All right. But no, thank you, Trevor Flores, for that. Hey, we were written up as severely as we could because, quote,
of this,
we were using our
platform,
we were utilizing
our
position at the YMCA for a personal gain. And now it seems how the turns have tabled. Now the YMCA is using
their personal gain.
Exactly. So it is what it is. Shout out Juan Mata. Shout out everybody. It only took that much and a couple of counseling statements, but you know 100%. What? We weathered the storm. We weathered the storm.
We learned that it'll make those to HR. So
it's all those did not make it to HR. It's okay. But now it's all good. Side talks, but that's cool, right? Like Chrome Ball event brings the best out of the community. It brings people together, and I'm glad that you had some insight too as a service member as well. How important these connections are with your feather brethren in these times of I don't want to say like laid backness, of just leisure time,
just getting out of the uniform,
and
still hanging out. I think too what he made a point of, they have people around the globe, and just knowing like when you're on deployment, there's like a sports network that I think like a military like satellite TV station, and it's like I can still vividly remember the times where it's like you were able to watch a game and you don't have a choice, like whatever game is on, but like sports is your one outlet from the environment you're in. And so like it's just thinking of SDFC military people that are deployed, like being able to watch like the first match, and they're somewhere around the globe. Like that to me is like super cool. I also remember when I was in Fresno, the I don't know what station it was downtown, but like for like the 3rd through 5th inning, like they would drive and you could see them in the outfield and they would sit on top of the fire truck and just watch the game. I remember one time it was a ladder truck and like there was a home run hit outside the stadium and they literally put the ladder, went on the roof, and like the guy had the ball and he was like waving it around. So like I think, you know, we're used to, I feel like in this country having first responders or military as a big presence in sports. But I mean, just hearing Trevor's words, I think, you know, it sort of like resonates, you know, in there. And like you guys mentioned with SDFC is creating the space for that to grow. And to, you know, he's talking about the kids were there, or like I hadn't seen some of the guys I worked with years ago, like, and it's all, you know, like they're just putting it out there to bring these people together, and they haven't even had a game yet. So that's pretty massive.
You're telling us, man, there's a fire station right next to our office, and
it's the fire station.
It's the fire station, and they
have
train
the
everyone there. And we see they're building catch on fire as training. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. I don't know about the carcinogens for us, but at the end of the day, but it's all good. It's for the greater good. But
it was great seeing a lot of people at the Chrome Ball Tour. I mean, just seeing Ricardo there, you know, having a great time. I didn't see Tom Penn there. I mean, it would have been cool if we saw Tom Penn at Chula Vista. That would have been cool. But I mean, everyone else, I love that even the employees, they're allowed to have a great time at this Chrome Ball events. I mean, it sucks going and just feeling like it's work. Obviously, it's work for them, but they also get to have a good time with it, which is, I think it's key if you're part of that staff team, because if not, you're just going to get burnt out.
There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure.
Sure.
And we have a lot of conocidos, a lot of friends, little pals that, you know, we've come to know through this adventure, and just having that outlet and be that outlet. And that's what I like to like. At the end of the day, I don't care. At the end of the day, this doesn't pay me. This is just for me in my heart. Like if it fulfills this, I'm happy. And if I'm that person where somebody needs to take a side to and be like, man, I've been carrying stuff all day. Hey, how was your day? Is everything good? Congratulations. Good job. They need that outlet to speak, because they're humans too. It's a lot of pressure. This is a major league level. There's expectations on these individuals too. So in order to have a successful event, they had to put a lot of time, effort, and I think it definitely paid dividends. I mean,
anything, they're working harder now than once the season kicks in.
Yeah, I mean, it's just even thinking about our pal Roger over at the merch booth, right? Like the time he had to be the first one in, last one out. Like, yikes! I'm just, you know, I'm glad overtime laws exist in California soon for salary
employees too.
So
really,
something to look forward to.
I mean, time to get back in the game.
100%. The more you make, the more they take. But no, and again, seeing our pals, like the classics. I see Paul coming in and chiming in. Paul having a hand, and I wish I could have said this and hype people up a little bit more. They brought Drew Ruggles and Boris Pardo.
I saw Drew Ruggles gold too.
Just
Boris was there.
Boris was
Love
there.
That. Love that.
And
I got there and I was like talking to Carl, saying like, "Hey man, Drew Ruggles and Boris Pardo," and then some guy that they were playing against goes like, "What the heck, man? They can't bring in pro players in this."
Literal ringers. Paul tried to get me on, and at the end I was kind of regretting it, but I'm like, I don't want to be the person that's on the other side of Pardo and Ruggles as I fuck up in a 3v3. Like, I wonder whose fault it was. Was it Drew? Was it Boris? Or am I going to tell Boris, hey, I got goal?
You should have.
You can
Hey,
mosey
Boris.
on that one.
Be like, hey, I saw what
bench.
happened against Chihuahua. I got this. I'm sorry.
Whoa.
But
I didn't mean to
You get
do
another
that.
great shot of
I
that?
didn't-
Or
I
I'm
didn't
not
mean
an
to be-
employee. It's fine.
You know what? I did.
We're free agents.
I did shoot Boris again. Obviously, I have the like picture from 2 years ago when they lost, and that was. I feel like that was a more heartbreaking loss than this last soccer's. But I think I have his reaction after I think the first goal that Chihuahua scored in overtime. Or sorry, in the third mini game to go up, and it's just him looking up and Chihuahua kind of celebrating around him. But that is cool that you see those guys, because I all those soccer dudes I love. So anytime I can see those guys integrated into other soccer stuff, like I saw Xavier went to go work with Austin Guerrero. And I texted Austin right away, and I was like, dude, can't find a more infectious, awesome personality to be part of, like training kids. So that is, I mean, as your point too, like it's cool to see them more, like any of those cross connections, like San Diego Mojo players were out at a Wave game and just,
Vice versa,
watching Jaden Shaw and Kalen Sheridan like interact with the Mojo players. It's like, I don't know, just makes my heart happy when I see professional athletes all kind of hang out or just cross over into other spaces.
Yeah, and enjoy it. Like Boris and Ruggles really enjoyed the event, really enjoyed playing out there with the community. Like you see smiles everywhere. And again, it's very very in tune of what's needed in the community. And again, I think they really tapped into something that's going to resonate with a community that's going to spend some money and spend some dollars on them. And there was a small clip of the afternoon, right? So we were there at the beginning. My biggest regret, and I tried to bribe the security guard. Let me on the ring.
Yeah.
Just let me
get a
on
shot
the ring.
on the ring, just a
please.
Bit
And the guy, doing his job, is like, I can't. I'm like, I try to pull rank. I'm like, hey, well, what if this person, El Grandolón, the big guy from the Snapdragon?
You should have just told him you were the public address announcer for the wrestlers.
What a mistake,
I would have believed that.
Yeah.
No, I think we risk not getting credentialed.
That starts that starts my in-ring performer career. So I would trade that in a heartbeat
for the World Cup. Damn.
Typhoon. Do you remember Typhoon?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. I might not get a Draymond with the Diamond, but
Draymond Green,
Daimon. I think.
I don't want to rouse. No, we sidebarred. I think we lose some viewers when we do that.
It's fine. But yeah, so overall, like it was really cool. Got to bridge the soccer community together.
I mean, shout out to Paul too. I feel like I've been here now 4 years, but if there's anybody that I feel like really rocks the support for all these clubs, I hard pressed to find somebody more, I guess, invested than I think Paul. And always there for questions. Like I asked him when I was shooting some of the stuff today that I end up shooting with Carl and his family. But if I have questions, I feel like a lot of times in the like stuff in the soccer community, I usually always hit up Paul. There you go. You got the right spelling. Doraemon. Most popular children's cartoon in Japan. Just saying.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
I think it does have a lookalike to the character. I wasn't trying to
100%. That's
way out of left field.
Yeah, 100%. He has a different name in Spanish. That's why. He's
okay. Gotcha.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
now.
It does look like.
So can I ask you guys a question? I know there's limited amount of information probably coming out about player stuff, but like for me coming back here, I think now I'm going, hey, we're less than a year away, right, to San Diego FC playing their first match in Snapdragon.
Yeah.
Or just anywhere in general if they start on the road or go to Coachella for the preseason. What whispers are we hearing in terms of player stuff that you guys can share? I don't want to get you guys in hot water, but like, is there that stuff coming out yet? Or is it pretty locked tight and you're still kind of in this mode of like, I'm just curious to see what the next move is?
So there's moves that are happening behind the scenes, and it's nothing necessarily official just yet, but those gears are turning. Officially, it's probably not going to come down until during or after Copa America, whatever those may be, because again, you can keep signing Marcos Invarsten, you can Jeppe from FC Northland, right? But those signings aren't necessarily consequential to move the needle in any sort of way. It's the rumors of like Chucky Lozano that are really kind of getting those conversations started and perhaps having Memo Ochoa. And so like all these names are getting thrown out there. Marco Reus, who played here in the preseason against San Diego Loyal last year with Borussia Dortmund.
Nacho Fernandez is leaving Real Madrid, and there's rumors that he wants to come to MLS.
It's playing currently at Real Madrid.
So is it like any like high profile person that could be like San Diego FC is like in the mix
of a certain caliber? Yeah. So
I mean, you would think, why not, right? I mean, you have an up and coming team. You have I picture Nacho from Real Madrid. I mean, wears the captain armbands whenever he plays. Yeah, you can go to Inter Miami. Yeah, you can go to LAFC. I mean, Giroud just signed with LAFC. Like he's Olivier Giroud.
Are you familiar with Olivier Giroud?
You know his game. You see his highlights. He's the greatest player of all time.
The name sounds very familiar.
He's incredibly handsome.
Super handsome.
Um,
No, but he scores just freaking wonder goals. And he played for
if
Arsenal.
you
he
look
played
at
for
his
Chelsea.
highlights,
Yes.
he's the greatest player of all time. In just the matter of just beautiful goals
dang,
that he
this- yeah,
scores.
This is pretty football right here.
Yeah, like it's incredible what he's able
World
to
Cup
do.
winner.
Chelsea, Champions League.
So to me, like what do you think is the move you would love to see then? If you were saying, hey, if they only have you said a certain caliber of player.
Yeah.
So who out of that certain caliber of player are you like, I would love for that to be this guy? If right, because they have a finite amount of resources with the
3 DPs that they can go ahead and get, and that's kind of how you cover yourself with having this talent that you can pay more and more premium players, and that's an advantage to have as a team that's starting, because you can really pick and choose out of anybody in the world on the market, where if you already have people locked into a certain contract and there's 3 DP players, designated players, then you're kind of playing with what you have. You kind of have to do some maneuvering, but overall I'm just watching all the visual
but like so realistically, and knowing that the way San Diego FC has said that they want to play, and then putting that next to the people you think are going to become available or are available, like who are you saying put one of those on this guy?
I mean, I mean, and it's technically almost official, right? Chucky Lozano. Tom Penn told us like it's going to be a high pressing team. We're going to high press. We're going to attack. We're going to pressure. And Chucky Lozano gives you that. He sprints on top. He runs everywhere. So I think that's a guy that you do have to get. I mean, all these rumors saying that it's official, it's happening. You better get this deal done, because if you don't get him after all this hype, then it's gonna throw off a lot of people. It's gonna turn off a lot of people as well.
Very deflating.
But correct me if I'm wrong. Was that because I saw some of the chatter? Was that the player though that seemed to sort of be like people were about, or like, no, don't go for that? I feel like there was a guy that was linked to SDFC where I saw it was kind of 50-50 in terms of fan reaction.
I think that's Ochoa.
Ochoa.
That's
the goalkeeper.
Gotcha.
Because again, like for him, it's like first of all, then you'd be signing a second goalkeeper already to SDFC, not necessarily the brightest of starts, but his age, his play isn't necessarily where it needs to be. But again, you don't need to win a World Cup. You don't need to win a Champions League with this team. You need to win the MLS. And so whatever that is, you're going to have those veterans from the MLS. But as far as other sort of players, I mean, Emor says it here, and I asked Mr. Mansour
all the time.
Mo Salah, Mohamed Salah. He's a superstar. He would be that player, that franchise signing that would definitely put SDFC on the map over what Chucky Lozano would do. Chucky Lozano is more of a checks more boxes situation, where good player, check. Relatively youngish, 28, check. He's a offensive, exciting, dynamic player, check. Mexican, check. Jerseys sold. So in that sense, it checks a lot more boxes, and it does lend for the narrative of like, oh, well, they're saying they're not LAFC 2.0, but yet they're still doing literally the same sort of maneuvers. But is that going to be the needle mover? He would be in the upper echelon of non-Messi top players in the MLS coming in.
But so to this degree, and that's not saying that SDFC doesn't have the pull, but right, like I feel like the Beckham factor is Inter Miami makes sense for why, like Messi and that connected. Like I mean, I'm not holding this against SDFC. They don't have a Beckham type figure but obviously
Manny Machado, bro.
But like that. Yeah, I guess I forget about Manny Machado. But like,
we all
do you feel like SDFC would have the pull to pull something like that off?
I think money talks.
The resources,
like the resources are there, and I think they could pull it off. And I mean, again, you still have the MLS, like the expansion draft, like, right, you're still going to get players from other teams that they're not protected. So I think that's where most of the players are going to end up coming in. I think that's also a reason why we're not seeing a lot more signings happening now, because I mean, I don't know the exact number that they get to pick from other teams, but I'm assuming it's a large portion of your team to start out. But like I said, I mean, like everyone's saying, Mo Salah would make sense, right? You have that connection there, but I mean, there's a lot of stars. I mean, I think if you go for Marco Reus, like it'll also sell jerseys. It'll also fill seats in the stadium. I think they can go a lot of different ways. I just can't think of one specific player that would just make that impact. I mean, I hope they get someone that's a lot younger that can do a lot more. I mean, Carlos Vela is still a free agent. He's not retired yet. Like, why not go after Carlos Vela as well? Like, he's already made a big impact in the MLS. So, I mean, it's.
What about Neymar?
I mean, you could go to players that are playing in Saudi Arabia. Like, I mean, Benzema wants to leave his club. Like, you can go for Riyad Mahrez. You can go, man. You can go so many players. Like,
and that's the thing too. Like, you're mentioning the connections that San Diego has, not just SDFC, but just San Diego as a whole, right? So there clearly is a strong partnership between Manchester United and San Diego.
Snapdragon.
Right? Yeah, exactly. They're the center sponsors next year for Manchester United. The center kit sponsors.
Rafa Varane, why not?
There's that connection. So it's like, who can you get? Like maybe a former Man U player and have those connections made with Jesse Lingard, and again, these are names of like quote like washed up European players. And that's the narrative, unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to say it, with the MLS, that even talking with some officials of SDFC, we were going back and forth of like, well, does Messi really make this league better? Does it make it better? It has more eyes, but does the talent really come up? Talk to me when a Kylian Mbappe joins the league. Talk to me when players in their prime start making the U.S. a destination.
They won't. They never will.
And it's not. And
anybody that thinks it will is delusional. Like, it's just not going to happen. I mean, yes, it's growing, and yes, it's going to get there. But, I mean, it's the same thing with Liga MX. If Liga MX couldn't do that, MLS is not going to get to do it either. Like, I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen. European soccer, European football is just more attractive to players. Like, one, you get paid a lot more. Two, it's more competitive. Like, if you play in MLS, you don't get to win the Champions League. That's a player's dream. Even if you're playing in Mexico, if you're playing in the US, like playing in the Champions League is just a dream, right? You get a higher platform playing in Europe, and it's just, it happens in South America. South America has great talent as well, but the league, the CONMEBOL, it's just not going to get to what UEFA is. And it's never going to be. It hasn't happened in hundreds of years. It's not going to get there. Like, I don't see it happening.
I think until you get the sponsorship money to, like, I don't know where it's at now. I know it's grown a lot, especially the last, probably decade. But I think, it needs to hit that like NBA, NFL level for probably it to tip the scales, where then more guys are getting paid and multi-millions or tens of millions of dollars.
And the issue with that, with NFL and NBA, like, the players that play in those leagues are technically the best in the world. MLS is not going to be the best in the world. Like, that's the thing. Like, you say you get Mbappe into LAFC or something, you still put LAFC with the squad they have and Mbappe against Real Madrid. Real Madrid is going to crush them 10-0, 10-1. Maybe Mbappe gets one.
An own goal.
And that's just what it is. Like, all these other sports and athletes, they are the best in the world, in the NBA, in the NFL, MLB. I don't know.
Best in the world?
According to that.
At what they do.
I was saying that was a CM Punk.
Mine was Jericho, because that's what he
there you
in
go.
that feud.
I think Jeremy has a good point, though. The Landon Donovan effect. This is something that I've had my eye on, and my thought, without any knowledge of this, was, he was waiting out some of the stuff that was happening with LA Galaxy, and I thought he would be somebody interested in maybe stepping into a president role, but I did find, through the time that I did know him, those first 2 years at Loyal, he really enjoyed being more on the side of like teaching the player, and whether that was not only on the pitch or just like, the mental health side of things. And it would be very interesting if he would take on more of a technical director, or, say like, some of these names are more akin to like, NFL, but like player personnel role with and
player
playing
development.
and playing that side, because I think we've seen a lot of loyal people on the front office side go to SDFC,
Mhm.
and I think there's been plenty of time now between the end of Loyal to now where if I know there was a rumor of Loyal owner Andrew Vasiliadis possibly having a role at SDFC as well,
Yeah.
because he just loves soccer in this
Yeah.
community so much. So I think from a time standpoint, it would, I think, PR wise, it'd be fine, right?
Mhm.
If they would assume into this role. So I would, I haven't heard anything from Landon.
But then what's the pull there? Like who's gonna be like, Landon, let's go. Like, let's go to SDFC in terms of a big player, name, personality. And just with my insights that I have, limited insights, that he's really enjoying being a pundit, and he's gearing up for the World Cup. And so I think this Copa America is going to be telling as far as how much he's going to dive into it. So he's enjoying retirement. He's enjoying playing golf. He's enjoying his life. He's enjoying playing tennis, watching, like, he's doing his thing.
Hey, Chris, you want to come play in San Diego?
Chris Wondolowski?
No.
I mean, I think there's extreme benefit, even if he doesn't have, an official role, of just being somebody that can
affiliate,
sell the city, right? And just be there, for whoever, just to be like, hey, look, I know this person, or I know their agent, and because obviously he's super well connected within the soccer community. And I think it would be great. I think Landon to me was a huge factor of really part of the groundswell of Loyal and making soccer a little bit more on the map here in the city. So I think it would be cool to see him connected.
Bring back Kyle Vassell.
I agree.
I love Kyle
Vassell. Who just got promoted. To another division. Yeah,
sure did.
Absolutely. And Landon, a huge part of bringing elite soccer here to San Diego. Some would say helped Wave come to San Diego, the best San Diego, or as some reports are coming out, San Diego FC is indeed going to be the one that brings any sort of worthwhile soccer to San Diego finally. Let's get into it.
Let's do
a
it.
little. Let's just touch on it, because it's true. The ambition of SDFC is giant on every single front. The academy aspect is trying to be top class, world class, and their operations across the world have paid dividends in that arena. They want to be the best in terms of the community. They want to bring every aspect of the 18 cities and everything in between and highlight everybody within. They're doing a pretty good job there. In terms of bringing on the pitch, game day products, soccer, they're also saying that they're going to bring, what was the quote? Top level soccer in America, or to America's finest city, or like
to San Diego.
Let's
top level
look
soccer in America to San Diego. I think that was a quote.
I believe
Penn.
you're right. Yeah.
So top level soccer in America. Like what does that mean, right? I mean, there was a lot of arguments on Twitter.
Yeah,
you got yourself in some arguments in Twitter, or discussions.
I was a complete neutral in all of this.
Oh yeah,
you're very neutral.
I'm incredibly neutral, and I love to play that devil's advocate space, because it's true. Like people saw this quote and made their decision on where they're going to sit on the fence immediately. And to the credit of Tom Penn and this article, within the article itself, there is praise for San Diego Wave and what they've done and what they've built at Snapdragon. Period. That is a fact. However, the highlighted sentence was, we're bringing the top level of football in America to San Diego. Quote Tom Penn. That didn't sit well with a lot of people at all. It got a vicious reaction for some, and really struck a chord to others, and others saw it as harmless and didn't necessarily see any negative or damaging aspects or takes that can be taken from such a small sentence in general that got blown out of proportion. So we'll start there. We see this on social media. Your personal immediate reaction, if any?
I mean, I'll go first. I mean, you read that and you think, okay, he is the CEO of San Diego FC, MLS. It's a men's league. When you compare the men's game to the women's game, the men's game is technically a higher level, right? Like it's more competitive. It's but you can't downplay what San Diego Wave are doing as well. I don't think he meant that, but the way they word it is kind of say, well, San Diego Wave is already playing here. San Diego Wave, NWSL is top level within the women's games, and you still have to respect that. There's no reason why you couldn't say, along with Wave, we're bringing top level soccer for the men's side. I think we're at a point where you have to acknowledge, I think women's sports are very much growing. You see it in the NWSL, you see it now in the WNBA with Caitlin Clark now making her debut, right? And just dropping 21 points in a preseason game. Like the women's game is growing. More people are tuning in than probably within the last 3 years or so. And I think you have to be very careful with how you say things. You have to be mindful. And there's already a very large fan base. It's not like San Diego Wave is bringing in 5,000 people every game. They're bringing tens of thousands. They're bringing 30,000, 25,000 plus people every game during their season. And they already brought a shield to the city. So they are the top level within their league as well. So you have to be mindful of that. You have to consider that on your title. And I think that's what sparked the debate and the controversy and everything in between.
I mean, I shared my opinion on it. I think it's, the quote is something that's been said, repeated from San Diego FC. And I'm not I don't want to hold their feet to the fire. I don't want to hold Tom Penn's feet to the fire. But to me, I'm actually going to bring up Landon Donovan with this.
Okay, let me put your volume down. Just
sort
to
of-
recreate the
sort of make
Landon
plug.
Donovan.
But if people remember in this city when Loyal walked off the pitch in year one with the Phoenix Rising and the homophobic slur that was said to Colin Martin, I remember we interviewed, and I was with the team. We interviewed Landon, and I remember I asked him a question and basically said, if somebody had no idea what was going on, could you paint the picture of what happened tonight and why it happened?
Mm-hmm.
And he probably spent, I think, the first minute of the answer talking about how the context to that point and the week before, if people remember, Loyal played at LA Galaxy 2, and Elijah Martin was called a racial slur during the match, at the end of the match. And I remember Landon said it really affected us as a team that we didn't do anything in the moment, but like the shock of it and everything.
Yeah.
So he said, knowing that and bringing that week and a half into the Phoenix Rising match and that happening in the conversation. So to me, the context, and I don't think it's so much as just this line itself. I think I put this akin to like looking under the water of an ocean and everything that women's sports and everything that women have fought for, and just to get slivers of what somebody might call equality or fair shake or just recognition. And so I'd look at the really visceral reaction to this tweet, and it came from even people that I saw a Tampa Bay Rowdies fan that was like, hey, SDFC continues to shoot themselves in the foot with this. And I think it shows like, hey, you can do 99% of phenomenal things, which I think they're doing. And I'm not even saying they're doing 1% bad, but I think the 1% that you're not on your game and not seeing the PR and social reaction to this ahead of putting this out, that 1% is going to impact a lot of people's thoughts of, and especially when it comes to, the article that was in the past about, hey, them having first priority at Snapdragon and all this. And, Casey Stoney feeling very comfortable sharing her thoughts on social with this. So I think bottle this all together in the other context of there was a Wrexham Man U press conference.
Yeah.
When that game happened here last year, and ahead of it, Jill Ellis, the president of Wave, was at the press conference, and they're kind of introing this match, and they talk a lot about Loyal. They talk a lot about Soccers. Didn't really talk about Wave.
Interesting.
And she left the press conference.
Yeah.
And I was there on behalf of Wave. I was supposed to get a photo of Jill Ellis and Wrexham and Man U, and it didn't happen. And in the moment, I can go, I don't really understand why that would have such a heavy reaction. But then again, I haven't lived through what Jill Ellis has lived through in women's sports and everything. And I think for me, having been around this league and the team and supporters and people that have supported this league since the beginning, you really get a sense of things that you either were so tone deaf to, which I admit. You know, I say things, and I remember having a conversation with Kaylin Sheridan about how much the players invest into the league and the fans and spending an hour afterwards. And she just kind of looks at me like, why this is what we've been doing. This is what we like believe in, you know, so like all this stuff. And then you see comments like this. And I think it's why it has such a striking reaction. And it's, you know, I was talking Stevie McGee, I think, right?
Yeah, on Twitter. Yeah, a defender, incredibly passionate and defending the team, and maybe not seeing or understanding other people's point of view, to say the least, and being very strong in his own stance.
And I, you know, I invite the differing of opinions, but you know, that's where I go. I don't really know if you're taking the time to see it from the people who take this as a slight. You know, like you can't just like step into it and be like, oh, well, I am seeing it from their side, but I don't get it, or they're trying to make something out of nothing. And that's where I go, I don't think you're taking enough time to really understand, because this isn't something out of nothing. This is something that has been repeated from SDFC. You know, Mark Ziegler even called it out, you know, like, you know, like, and you know, even looking to when Tribune was doing articles on Wave in the first year or two, and every single one had a reference to the Chargers or had a reference to a male sport. And it's like, we can just write the article about Alex Morgan and the Wave and what they're doing. And I think if the last point I would make on this is like, right, if you flipped the script on this and you said SDFC started first and they signed 2 mega national team stars, and they went to the conference finals the first two years of their existence, and they had other global superstars on their team, and they were having sellouts and all this, and Wave came in. And Wave was saying the types of statements, I think they would catch a lot of ridicule. So I don't know if it's like, it's not who's the best in the world, it's not who's top level. I think, you know, you made a point on Twitter of just being like, I think just putting your arm around each other, it's like we can prop up each other, or you can fix this statement by just saying we're bringing top level men's soccer to San Diego, and boom, it changes so much. And I think you know, Abe, having from a writing background too, I think you could just, from your perspective, it's like, I'm sure you've maybe made some mistakes in like wording, but I think some of this just solves itself if you just take a second to stop and go, hey, we already know the history with things we've done here and how we've triggered maybe the community. It's like, let's look at this again before we put something out.
And I know, Abe, you have something to say, and I hold on, because there's another just point to just kind of go with that. And it's a real reflection of where not even just San Diego soccer is, US soccer, women's soccer, men's soccer, world football. I know somebody who is and was trying to get credentialed for the Copa America. Copa America is, you have to submit your prior credentials for other things. This individual submitted everything perfectly. Submitted the most recent CONCACAF tournament in the Women's Gold Cup credential, official, rejected. That same day, same information, put the men's CONCACAF World Cup Gold Cup credential, approved immediately. So it's kind of like what's going on here, and well, Abe, I'll let you kind of get your point on, but you know, those types of things, I'm like, why? Like that doesn't help anybody. Like you're just help the festering of this narrative of, if people usually say, oh, we're tired of it, stop talking about it, there's nothing there. Well, there is something there, and keep ignoring it, and it's going to keep growing. And that's the unfortunate part, where there's a lot of hard work and I mean, Abe, you spend most of your time covering women's soccer here in San Diego and do a pretty damn good job of it, and do more than most of the big box networks do. And even locally, there's not a lot of representation other than yourself out there, Abe.
Yeah, and I'm glad Ryan brought that up on the writing element of it, because even like as I've learned, like with AP style, different writing styles and stuff, I always have to specify that it's the women's soccer that I'm covering, the women's sport that I'm covering, and it's always just like a slight little detail, which like I'm fine making that specific identification. It's a women's game, but I never have to say, oh, it's the men's game. I'm talking about the men's soccer. It's just soccer. And it's just such a weird, like, it doesn't even make sense when you think about it from a basic, like, grammatic sense of it, where if I'm identifying women's on here and I don't identify that, it's just the weird kind of heteronormative idea of how we use our language. But it's just, it does get frustrating. And when you see, like, tweets like that, I think I agree with you. We've seen that kind of stuff. I think that was, like, one of the first things they probably said to Tony and Chiva in that interview with Tom Penn, and SDFC has been saying this time and time again, but it's something like this goes back to, unfortunately, this goes back to the Chargers, in my opinion. The Chargers left. There was an empty sports scene in San Diego, in my opinion. It's just the Padres, and now we have soccer, specifically men's soccer, San Diego Loyal, as far as professional, coming in, essentially colonizing the sports scene, and now we have something even bigger that saw what the Loyal and the Wave did, and then just kind of taking it over. And a lot of fans have seen that and kind of just taken. I think fans have, especially here in San Diego, have become a lot smarter in who they support and the teams they support, especially when it comes to ownership, because it's such an important issue. Like, the owners of your sports team can make your life great or just ruin your life as far as how you watch sports. And when you see a new ownership group kind of being very objective, like we're the new ones, we're going to take over, it's like it's a little scary for some fans. And I think it's definitely it's going to be weird to watch. It's going to be fun, but it's going to be weird to watch.
To quote Kendrick in this battle with Drake, it seems like they're not necessarily colleagues, like you're saying, Abe, they're colonizers. And there's a space to go ahead and get your own. There's enough slices of the pie in terms of soccer in San Diego for everybody to enjoy their own individual unique space. But going back to what I was saying in this whole debate of like, well, granted, if you want to include Wave, because you don't have to include Wave in everything that you say. Of course not, 100%. Wouldn't that make more sense in dollars and pesos and just money in general as a business to embrace what's here? Is there such thing as too much exposure, positive exposure, and say, oh man, we're going to get, 5% of the San Diego Wave fan base endeared with our, movement in a shared space at Snapdragon. We're both equally tenants. We're both equally here in a non-soccer specific stadium, as much as this team wants to keep saying, here we go again, this is a soccer specific stadium. It's not. It's not. Like, it just get that through everybody's head. It is not. And if that means that we mentioned it earlier off camera, like if that means the qualifier is just having soccer in the venue, then Atlanta is the biggest soccer specific venue in the country, period. Like that's just, stop lying to people. It's just a small little lie. Yeah.
And I mean, unfortunately for San Diego FC, I mean, I can see people within the team just not really agreeing with what that quote was said. But when your boss has that mentality and that mindset of, I'm not going to do anything for Wave or anything like that, then that's what's representing your team. And unfortunately, Tom Penn has that mindset where I'm not going to partner with San Diego Wave. I'm not going to praise. I mean, he is praising San Diego Wave, but not going to build anything from there. Then that's the big problem. And if that's how it's going to start, it's not going to lead to a great relationship.
There is no relationship. And that's something that I, from what I've understood from certain conversations within, these circles, is that there is not a relationship that's worthwhile with these two teams. Is there face, hey, come down? Are they going to swap jerseys on the first home game, yeah, there's going to be support on social media. They're going to have that. There's going to be the mwah, mwah, kiss, 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 babe. Like that's going to happen because it's par for the course. The Potters are going to do the same thing. Mojo is going to do the same thing. Everybody's going to do the same thing. The San Diego, everybody's going to be on that same PR board. But at the end of the day, and behind the scenes, these two teams are competitors. They're siblings in the same space. They're competing for something that doesn't need competing. The one place what they are going to be competing is in the academy sense, because Right to Dream will have a female division and have young women who are going to come and try to build their career through this academy and then get sold off. Wouldn't it make more sense to partner with somebody that's already here in one of the highest leagues in the world when it comes to women's soccer, and just funnel that talent into the talent here? Because again, you're going to go ahead and have talent, and you're going to make these San Diego stars and superstars, and the academy is going to be great 5 to 10 years. How great is it going to be to see little Juanito and little Johnny from Tijuana? Your hometown heroes are going to be able to play for the MLS, and guess what? They're going to get sold off. They're going to go and do a bigger career in Europe, because again, the moment that stops happening, that's when the MLS is really going to start growing. The moment that Weston McKennie decides, you know what, I'm not going to go to Juventus. I'm going to go ahead and stay in the MLS and make my league better. That's going to be the steps. Pulisic is not going to have to go to Chelsea, AC Milan, Borussia Dortmund. He's going to go ahead and stay in New England Revolution. Like, sure, why not? Like, that's then you laugh because it's just
gonna happen.
never going to happen. It's a reality of things, and it's a big appetite that San Diego FC wants to do.
And I do love that people within the team do believe that it can happen and it's going to happen. Because I mean, if you're really in that, and you should believe that, but I mean, reality is that it's not going to. I don't know. I mean, SDFC, like you said, Ryan, it's that 1% that people will remember and people will take to heart. And you can do everything right, but if you do one thing wrong, people are going to call that out, and that's just part of it. Like, nothing's ever perfect, but you can definitely clean up your imperfections.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been in situations working for a team where, I'm not saying this is happening because I have no idea at SDFC, but like where, the person that can be in a position to give these quotes, you're like, yeah, we don't really agree with that. And I think in this case with SDFC, I'm going, you have people there that know this market, that love this market, that do believe in, that I know believe in, like making better connections. Yeah. And you have Ricardo Campos, who's there, that I would love to see become more of the voice of this club if they're going to take front office voice or like have those quotes and do these stories. Because like this isn't a New York Times story, this isn't a Wall Street Journal story, this isn't BBC News. So like this is a San Diego Magazine story, and what better way to tell the story of your club by doing it with somebody that knows what soccer means here, knows what the people mean here. And that's where I go, hey, like they're not asking me for advice. I know they're like, I'm not trying to be that guy, but I think to me, this is a simple fix going forward, where I go, hey, maybe this is where we kind of shy away from Tom now in quotes going forward, and we just have it become more of a local voice that we know people here in the soccer community know and trust and go. And I think are just like, and this is maybe to defend Tom, it's like, I wouldn't expect him to be as plugged in either. No. So I think if, like if I'm in my PR background, I'd be like, okay, well, we need to align the person best with this article. Let's get Ricardo.
Yeah. And that seems like an easy fix. And even with that quote, right? Like, it more than what was actually quoted, it just seems like a misstep on a PR sense. Like they just chose the wrong quote. And
like, who gets Tom Penn in trouble? No,
because it's so broad that it opens up for that type of conversation. If it was a poignant, Right to Dream is going to bring a different flavor and potentially grow the best soccer in San Diego. What I had said too is like, San Diego FC is touting the community and how great it is, and how, the youth academies here are fantastic, and the teams, and it's always been a hotbed of talent. We are bringing the tools to the best soccer that already exists here. I think would have been a better avenue and a better quote, because then you're just propping up what's already here. And it's what everybody's been knowing that's here. It's those stats of like the biggest World Cup viewership was from San Diego, and all these different things that keep getting told to the community of like, oh, you're great soccer wise, you're great, you're great, you're great. But in saying that you're bringing something that isn't there is dismissive of everything that is already here and has been. And so again, that's very nitpicky in a sense of just trying to extrapolate so much from so little. As you mentioned, it's a San Diego magazine. Like
I don't think that's extrapolating too much, because that's the story of San Diego, in my opinion. It's named San Diego because Spanish colonizers came here and decided to name it that, even though it was Kumeyaay land, you know. So it's not a you can definitely say that.
I agree, and that's the thing. I agree with too many of these points to where at the end of the day, soccer is what has to be kept as pure as it can be, the game. And all these hoops, and we talked about this when Wave was starting. We talked about this when it's a loyal off season, Wave off season. There's nothing to really talk about. When the ball starts rolling, that's when we can go ahead and have these discussions of like, well, you know, they could have done better here. You know, sign this person, sign that player. Exactly. And then that's a different conversation as far as what to actually do, because now you're having that product that's representing the city. And is it working? Is it breaking down? Are the people that are going to be paying, you know, out their asses for season tickets, are they getting their money's worth with the product that you're putting out there, right? Is this Right to Dream venture really panning out as you thought it was going to be? You're saying that you're going to bring a championship to San Diego. Okay, well, we've heard around that's like they're moving those goalposts of like, well, you know, 5-10 years, like that's when we can start. And that's a reality of an academy, right? Like you're not going to necessarily see success immediately. If they do, it's shutting everybody's mouth up.
Didn't
It's
LAFC find success after Tom Penn left?
Oh shit!
Whoa, you're firing Tom Penn already?
I mean, just give it a couple years.
I mean, I would say this too, because it's something I've experienced working inside front offices. The budgets change after year one. You know, they change for Loyal, they change for Wave, and I think you're seeing two like key acquisitions. Like I look at Shannon McMillan for Wave is gigantic, because she was doing key stuff in the community with Loyal that expanded where they were. Because your point of like, hey, they tried to get below the 8, it kind of bounced up, you know, and then like I think Shannon really opened that up, and just seeing the impact she's having within Wave of just like broadening things or doing things that have a larger impact in the community. So to your point of like, hey, maybe they're not doing as many events. I think the event they did preseason downtown was really cool. It felt big. And I think that's a cool thing. I think to me, the most interesting thing with SDFC is after they do this Chrome Ball tour and finish it, is where do they redirect their money, especially when signings come. You know, like I'm going to be, my kind of thing is like, where are they going to go in the community? What initiatives are they going to attach to? Is it going to be more event based, or is it going to be more impact, you know, like off the pitch, not necessarily soccer, but hey, we're helping, you know, homelessness here, or we're helping do this. Like I'm really key to see where that is. And then after that first year, where you see kind of like that social like energy go in terms of like what they're kind of focusing on. So I think some of this is like, I just want to be in wait and see. I think too, you know, I pay attention to like NFL and quarterbacks, and I feel like people sort of like alienate players after a week or two. And it's like, hey, let's like, so let them have the year. Let's see what happens. And I think, you know, this was a case where because there's no games and there's nothing happening, a comment like this is going to be boom. And then, you know, it's going to go crazy. And, you know, now being removed from it, I think it's just like, you know, my idea talking about this tonight was just, I think knowing the context of everything that women's sports is gone through, and also like all the comments that have sort of rubbed the SD Wave community, I'll say, not SD Wave specifically, but the community and the soccer community with some of the things that have been attached to SDFC. I think that's why, you know, I don't think that's going to get any less hot if there's like similar things that happen. So I think it's just, you know, I think it was a
As they
good
should.
discussion to have.
Yeah, and as they should, and I think we'd be not being completely honest and having integrity and saying that we've always felt this way. At least me. I'm also learning about the women's game. I'm also getting into it. I'm also understanding what it takes day in, day out. These are professionals. These are individuals. These are people. These are human beings. Everything that really goes into making a professional athlete, and not just one, a truckload of athletes that put a team together, the people behind the scenes. It's really amazing. And that's kind of like what I've really enjoyed in this kind of venture and projects is just looking behind the curtain and seeing how the sausage is made. And just seeing how incredible everything is behind the scenes. And it's not necessarily a matter of, well, now I know I am enlightened. No, I'm still learning. I'm still very, very green to some things and some aspects where I need to check myself in terms of like, oh, okay, well, maybe, yeah, that's just the way my dude brain works. And we all four of us here know exactly what that moment is of like our significant others, our girlfriends are like, hey, like we do some dude thing and we just don't think about it. And they're like, no, this is like a microaggression, or you're doing this. And you're like, no, I'm just existing.
I'm just a boy.
I'm just a dude. And it's like, no, like there's things that go beyond, just really quick. Like it was as simple as a thing. Like I was walking in Irvine Spectrum Mall, right? We're walking and it's my girlfriend, my sister, and myself, and we're just walking down, regular day, nothing. It was just a regular day. They stop and they start talking to this random teenager, and they're like, hey, I haven't seen you in a while, and this and that, and oh, what are you doing here? Like, oh, you're still going to middle school, or I haven't seen you since middle school. It's like first of all, who is this person that they're talking to, and what's going on? I've never like seen him, and it's like, okay, what's going on? Turns out this was just a random girl who was being made felt uncomfortable by a much older man and speaking to her in a way that made her uncomfortable. And my girlfriend and sister immediately recognized that, where I literally just walked by, and even while they were having the conversation, I did not clock that. And it's just like, it's not necessarily that I intend to ignore those things. It's just, I don't know. I'm not explaining. Once they explain, I'm like, oh shit, like that's okay. Like, fuck, like that's intense. Like I didn't see that. The guy ended up just walking away. And then I just kind of turned into an enforcer of like, yeah, walk away type of thing. But you're just, it's that veil that's covering everybody. And it's being able to put it up from time to time and be able to take new inputs. And I think in the realm of women's sports and in general, it's just like I have a deeper appreciation for what their contribution is to the sport. And that's again what needs to be respected is the sport. Once the game starts, it's just a fucking game. It's just a game. We're having fun. It's great. There's impact at the end. It's life or death in some aspects, where this is literally giving some people, an outlet in their challenging lives and making a life for themselves and a name for themselves, being able to bring a family out of poverty. And this is something that Right to Dream is poised to do, and saying that they can provide all these things. Like it's very ambitious, but I think at the end of the day, consideration needs to be taken in every aspect. And look, for a multi-million-dollar corporation, I think it'd be important to, make some of that money back and do smart moves and be a little bit more synergistic.
Yeah. And, talking about this, it makes me think of a situation with SD Wave where, I think for their entire existence, people have been asking for a Mexican player. And something that stood out to me after the last home game, which was Maria Sanchez's first home match as a Wave player, I saw numerous older Mexican women in their 50s, in their 60s, holding a Mexican flag and almost like fangirling out.
Yeah.
And it's just a reminder of representation mattering so much, especially to this market. And what I've learned, I've only been in San Diego now going on 4 years, but something I came acutely aware of working for Loyal. And then I think for Wave, I was somebody that was telling Jill all the time, like, sign Renee, you know,
Yeah.
like she's here, she's living here, she wants to play here, like
Yeah.
she's fiery. Like, I think she would be perfect complement to everything that's happening. Obviously, none of that fit very well. And I'm an armchair GM, but I think hopefully to me too, this is opening the eyes of, I think, a lot of people within San Diego Wave too, just, and like even on sporting side, front office side, to be like, look at this. Because now, right, you saw a little bit of it with Mel, but I feel like Maria's kind of like, I guess I don't want to say like Mel being kind of Mexican American, and I know Maria's Mexican American as well, but I feel like it's more like Mexican.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that like group of young girls and like older and like as many Mexican flags that I saw last game.
It was so awesome to see that in the Women's Gold Cup when it was Mexico versus USA. That was honestly one of my favorite game that I've covered because of how many Mexican fans, Mexican women especially. Like, I think my mom went to that game actually too.
How many does she usually go to matches or no?
She lives in LA, so she goes to a lot of Angel City games actually. But just like to see that level of like people, I think the Mexican women's national team, they put out a video on their Instagram of like this old woman who just worked at the stadium, and she was talking about how she like never got to watch this on TV, and she was just crying because she was like, you know, I always dreamed of being a player one day, and like I never got to play, but getting to see them play, just like it's something that's so crazy that in our lifetime that we don't realize, like, oh yeah, our moms probably never got to play or watch people play at this level, and now it's actually happening in front of us, and we kind of we should be celebrating. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, 100%, and that's how Mexicans are in general. Like, you could literally, like, not to do a men's sport reference, but I could not give two shits about boxing, but the Canelo fights, I'm like, I'm all about boxing. Yeah, Canelo's gonna knock this guy out in 10 rounds, man. Like, I'm a boxing expert, and that's just how we are as a group of people. Like, my mom could not watch any soccer games, and then Mexico plays, and she's like, "Ay, jugó bien feo el México hoy." And Mexico played so bad today, and she hasn't seen a single game in a year because Mexico hasn't played, and she just automatically watches, right? And that's just how we are as a group of people. And I think Maria Sanchez is just a great representation, like you said. Like,
the fact that it's my mom, again, it's my mom's same name. And when she signed,
Yes.
I told her, hey, congratulations on signing with the San Diego Wave.
That's amazing.
And she was like,
what did I
like,
pay?
did you, she was like, did you submit an application for me? Or like,
Popped up on
like,
Indeed.
yeah, no, I'm like, hey, like this. It's like, oh, cool. Let's go support my tocaya. That's a word for somebody who has the same name as you. Oh, let's go support her and this and this and this. And even going back, I remember a huge memory for her was Mexico winning the gold medal against Brazil.
Oh man.
Like,
Oh,
man,
man.
that was so big.
2012.
Yeah.
It was my sister's
Beat Neymar.
birthday. I think everyone remembers what they were doing. Like, my mom and my sister and aunt, grandma left early to reserve a spot on IB, and it was my sister's birthday. It was her party, and we're like, well, sorry, we got to watch Mexico play early, and then we'll go help you set up. Winning the gold medal, driving around, celebrating, putting the Mexican flag. It wasn't even my sister's birthday party anymore. It was just Mexican winning soccer gold medal party. Like, it's moments like that are so important in us as like part of our culture. Like, I mean, shit, we have a Mexican flag that's been there for years now. So,
Yeah. And again, back to Wave. You saw me pull this up, and usually now we're seeing different iterations of what can be done with what Wave has done. It's San Diego Wave Football Club, and there wasn't ever necessarily any football in Wave.
Yeah.
And so when you see the Vamos Wave, it usually comes with this face. That's the Vamos.
That's why I was laughing earlier.
Ole.
Like, that's and now with having Maria Sanchez, it's like, oh no, like we can actually pronounce it right. It's not Old Town Mexican soccer team.
Yeah.
It's a more representative team. I know you like that.
And
AJ.
this ties back with just representation, and that's what that's why a lot of people held to heart those comments by Tom Penn, because
It means
that
something, yeah.
that representation needs to happen for the women's game. I mean, it's a top level here of
Mhm.
women's game, and it has to be talked about and it has to be praised. And if you can't understand that, then I mean, we as people, we can't help other people think, and we can't shape how they do things. And unfortunately, it's just the way the world is. But we can definitely talk about it like we're doing right now,
And we are.
bring awareness to it.
And we are, and I hope everybody who has stayed, first of all, this long, or
Yeah.
just has made
Thank
it
you so
this far,
much.
understands
The
that.
viewer count has gone up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. Like it's something that clearly is resonating with a lot of people, and I would love, and something that I've talked with Shiva and about, is that when we talk about Wave, like I would love to have a female correspondent for that. Like, I'm sorry, Abe, but
No,
like
there's
you
not
do-
enough women's journalists. Like, I love Jackie. She's super cool. She goes to most of the press conference stuff. But like the fact that it's just her in most of the press conferences talking to like these female athletes, like we can only do so much. Like I would love to have more women's representation in our media, because like we can't tell their stories like they could.
Exactly.
And I mean, there's Taylor, right, from the Athletic, and Meg.
Oh yeah,
and
Taylor's
they're everywhere in the
awesome.
league, and they can only cover Wave as well so much. So
Yeah, but I think Abe, to Abe's point there, like Jackie is like so crazy knowledgeable about.
Mhm.
I feel like like having more people that are super knowledgeable about like all these teams, because I feel like right now it's sort of I know about Wave now. In my like third year following the league, I feel like now I'm starting to watch other teams when it's not
Yeah.
just Wave. But then I talked to Jackie, and it's like she just crushes me with knowledge that I don't even know. But so it would be cool to see more, and it stinks because I feel like the written side of things too is sort of going through its transition. So I don't think it's as encouraging of a profession, especially even TV news. But I would agree. I mean, it would be great to see. I'm surprised there's not more local reporters, general assignment reporters in San Diego that are looking for stories on the weekend to be like, hey, I'm going to come out and cover a Wave game, and maybe I can't cover it as a sports story, but I can cover it as like a community story.
Yeah.
Like, because like I remember my favorite thing to this day is it was through Jerry Jimenez, but getting connected with the little girl that we did the Wave video on, where she's a Mexican girl, plays soccer, 8 years old, and like we covered her going to a match and like seeing just the effect this has on her. I'm like, and I agree. I think there's certain things that I found that as a guy doing content in this league, I feel like there's plenty of times where I'm going, a female photographer can cover this team in a much more intimate way than I can. Just from a disarming standpoint, I think it's just there's different variations of that. But that was the end of my point.
Yeah, I mean, and like, we're not here to solve these issues. We're just trying to help. And I think that's what I hope that at the end of the day just kind of comes through, is that, in our experience and in what we do, we see the kiddos that we work with, right? At the end of the day, I don't see these as boys and girls. They're just the kids. They're just the children. Like, you guys are all going to come up and you're all going to have your own challenges. And if we can help break some of those barriers and help them, arm them with the proper tools to meet those challenges, and say, hey, like, you're going to face this. And it's just a matter of what are you going to do with what you have as an individual to move past those barriers and really be who you want to be. And again, that's what I reflect with like the women's sports in general. It's just, we have a bunch of kiddos, and we've seen thousands of kiddos come through, and we always hope that, at the end of the day, like that they're happy, they have fun, and they're safe. But you see them grow up, and it's like, well, I hope they all have a chance. Boys and girls need to have the exact same chance. I don't care who or what you came from. Every kid needs a chance. And as long as that's present, and there's people who you can look up to and have somebody to really focus on and see as a hero or potential, role model, even if it's from far away. You know, that's incredibly important. So overall, I think it's just kind of linchpin today, and you know, I think it's a very linchpin creative.
This guy.
I don't understand half the shit he says sometimes, but
I love it. I love it.
It's truly part of the soccer community and the greater tapestry of what this can bring. Babe,
We're losing Abe.
oh man, Abe. I mean, it's all good.
Do I look sleepy?
Yeah, 100%.
I'm
it's
wide awake.
okay.
Man.
It's past his bedtime.
You're wide awake. It's okay. We've kept
I'm really
you
to
off.
talk about what Emoj said. I mean, Piojo Herrera out at Club Tijuana. We got to talk about that, guys. Come on.
You know what? I think at least from a NWSL standpoint, I think doing, you know, starting this year with the integration with the Liga MX Femenil.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure I said that right.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I wish would have been included this year is if NWSL teams had to travel for
To
at least
Mexico.
one match for Mexico, because I think that's where I still think American sports teams have to really go to these markets to understand
Their privilege.
how big of a fan base or how like the impact it can have. I feel like right now, and I've been in front offices where it's like I've tried to sell them on doing more marketing and spending more money, and it never happens because I feel like you're not going to these markets. I feel like it would have been great if Wave had to go play Cholos. Like,
Yeah,
I think that would have
it's
been
easy.
awesome.
Or make it a hub. And
yeah.
then the Mexican teams, that's their home base,
Mhm.
right? You're still traveling abroad.
Let these NWSL teams go play at Tigres Femenil against in front of 68,000
That'd be
fans.
oh my gosh. I would like that would be
That's
a
the type
dream.
of pool that they have. Tigres Femenil, especially being one of the most successful teams in Liga MX Femenil, they all draw 68, 70,000 people at their stadium. And I mean, it happens in the Leagues Cup in the men's game where the first time, like, it was all in the US. And then, okay, let's travel to some of these Mexican stadiums. So I think with time, it'll go there, hopefully, with this tournament. But I mean, that
dream
would be
friendly,
amazing.
Maria Sanchez and Wave going back and playing
At
Tigres
Tigres.
next year. Can we just say that? Heard it here first.
Heard it here first.
We're calling Wave at Tigres
I mean,
next year.
We heard it here first. That
I wanna
SDFC was gonna happen. So
Yep,
I want to
absolutely.
see Wave and
Without
America rematch because they're gonna play this already at Snapdragon, so they need to have a rematch at Estadio Azteca. That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
That's the one game my grandpa's an America fan. I told him, "Oh yeah, America's coming." He was like, "Oh, maybe I should go." I was like, all of a sudden he wants to go. But I mean, that's the pool that kind of just the America brand. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, maybe I should go to a game, and it's like,
it's crazy because, man, I'm gonna throw somebody under the bus, but I don't care. Kind of no, it's fine. It's the personal connection where it's a cuñado.
And that's what I used to be called.
Oh yeah.
Cuñado.
Hey, there you go.
Cuñado.
Cool.
not coño.
No.
Oh shit. The Cuban. That just means you're a nice person. But a cuñado who's an America fan, you mentioned it, and doesn't have the most solid base on just women's rights in general and just women equality, and you know, it's just kind of an old school type of thinking. That was announced. America's Femenil is coming, and we were like, I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be there. Like immediately, all of that just kind of gets dropped of any sort of, because I've invited him. Hey, you want to go to Wave games? The guy you took a photo of. You remember that? Yeah, sure. But
recently or
at one of the Sunday league games.
Yes. Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
And it's
perfect.
you know, like never took a 6-second look at going to a Wave game, but at the end of the day, America's Femenil is coming. That's America.
See,
That's America.
that easy. To me, it's that easy. So I'm glad NWSL made this happen with the league, but I think it's got to grow to next year where NWSL clubs have to travel. And I've said this for years and years now, 3 years, but I would love to see Wave do preseason where they travel, you know, and like spend time in certain, like, even if you just travel to two different cities and you play, you know, and you allow enough lead time where your fans could come down and meet you. And I think that'd be cool to play in 2 different cities in Mexico.
What is Coachella not cool enough for you? Or
I think that's going to grow. I mean, I think it can be cool, and I will say Wave was a big driver of that even happening this year. They had to actually recruit the other teams to come, and hearing a little backstory. So shout out to Laura Doran on Wave. I know she was a huge element to this, and I believe Portland was the other team that was like the first to get involved.
Yeah.
But I would imagine there's at least 8 NWSL teams in Coachella next year.
That's
Ooh.
awesome.
Thanks-
That's
thanks
more
to
than
the
half
work.
the league.
Yes, that's not wrong.
So that's good.
Not
Yeah,
wrong.
yeah, yeah.
It's a good.
Not
No,
wrong.
I didn't
That's a
mean to
fact.
say. I didn't mean
That's
to
a
say
fact.
that.
That's a-
I
no,
didn't
no,
mean to
no,
say
I
it in a
get
bad
what you
way,
mean.
but
I get what you mean.
It's a good thing.
I get what you mean.
That
All
league
right.
is growing and it's heading in the right path.
Last question.
Yes.
Because I know we probably want to wrap up. We're hitting 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Who makes a bigger signing next? SD Wave or SDFC?
The first SDFC, or not the first, but the first franchise player has to come soon.
I think Wave.
I'm trying to think
I don't
I've-
think Wave is done.
because I've heard that exact same thing, that Wave is not done and they are
There's-
ready to potentially make
Hey,
a
when
big
is the
splash.
transfer date?
There's one more international slot. There's one international slot.
Mm.
We don't know who it is yet, but the Wave are going to sign
Mm.
someone in that one international slot.
When's the
Be
transfer
reckless, Abe.
deadline?
Say
Or
someone.
trade deadline?
Be reckless.
What? I'm not going to be reckless. No. The trade deadline, the transfer deadline is sometime in the summer. I'm not sure what day. I got to look that up.
3 more hours. My mom is gonna text me. Mijo, ya son las pinches 11. It's 11.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, no, like-
So Abe, you don't have any? Do you have a thought on who they might be targeting? If you or even just like your thought of like, hey, it'd be awesome if they were targeting this player.
like who can be a bigger potential signing than what already happened with Maria Sanchez internationally?
I have a feeling it'll be from England, just based on what Casey Stoney has kind of hinted at during the preseason press conferences. Francisco Alexia Putellas. I like
What
that.
about-
Barcelona?
What about Laura Frigang?
Or forgotten.
From
Germany.
FREIGANG.
Where is this? You got some sources there?
Regan?
Interesting.
No, there's like a Instagram account that tracks like who's becoming available.
Oh.
And so I heard this too of like, hey, I overheard something in regards to the person Wave could be targeting could be a bigger impact than Maria Sanchez.
Wow.
So this account tracks all these like, big time stars and who becomes available, who's not. So that was just one I saved because I saw this person could become available.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of really good talent in Europe. And again, the NWSL is such a top league that these moves are viable. Again, we can say SDFC, oh man, like, watch out. We're going to go ahead and have Marcus Rashford come over to us. Like, no, let's be realistic here. But these are names that definitely can happen. Even a big splash, like somebody from Madrid, like Caicedo.
Representation, Colombian.
Yeah.
Like
She's
I
played
can
here
see
in San
that.
Diego
I'm
before.
not too sure where her contract stands, how many years she has left. I mean, she's still only 18 or 19, I believe.
Mhm.
But imagine her on the wing with Maria Sanchez and then Shaw and Morgan in the middle. Oh man, like
that can probably solve some of the
I do
issues.
think Wave make a move first before SDFC. To answer your question, I think SDFC is going to still take some time to finalize anything. Like Tony said, maybe Copa America time before the summer. I think what we heard was like Chucky Lozano to be announced before Copa America, right?
And if he's not, probably November-ish. If that does happen, according to sources.
So
So I mean, bottom line, I think it's a really exciting time.
Yeah,
You're
no,
gonna- over the
100%,
summer, right?
so.
We're going to get more SDFC news. Seeing, I think, the Wave roster, hopefully, injuries become less of a factor, and we get the. I feel like the Chiva All Star team that he was listing off of his, and I say that in a good way, but like
official.
All right. You know who Casey Stoney's first marquee signing was back when she was in England? Lauren James.
mm,
No, not the Chelsea player, right?
Yeah. That
The
was
Chelsea
first-
player. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Chelsea. I
He's
mean,
absolutely destroying.
Is that the person like she'll even share like social media posts? I feel like there's an English player that she's shared a lot of like stuff on her social of accomplishments or something. Maybe it's not
Yeah.
her necessarily, but
I think she does that with. I've seen that with a few, but I wouldn't be surprised if like a player of that caliber, especially some of these Chelsea players. You know, it's kind of a weird
I mean, she's better than
thing.
Reece James.
Mhm.
I think you're gonna see a lot of Chelsea players leave once Emma Hayes leaves too.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Look at
Um,
that, Abe connecting dots. I love it.
I love that. That'd be a really, really good get. And yes, better than Reece James.
Mia Official coming back.
I would love that, but my sources say that she's not a big fan of San Diego Wave. So
That
I
also-
think-
things can
can
change.
change.
100%.
back
That's
home
definitely
with
true.
the family,
Has scored here in
with,
Snapchat
with her twin sister, her
Mhm.
brother.
sources. But I agree. Interesting times.
That would be cool.
here in soccer in San Diego. All right, gentlemen. 3 hours have been passed. It's always a great time. I love doing this. I'm pretty sure the people enjoy it. You had
Yeah.
your Ryan fan club with
yeah.
David and Eric in the
Shout
beginning.
out to Abe and Amor as well.
Shout out to Amor. Shout out to Francisco.
Let's not do this every 3
619.
months. Let's do it every month.
Let's keep doing this. It's fun. Abe, you happy here? You having a good time? You enjoy
I'm
yourself
happy.
today?
I'll come in next time.
Eight's here every week.
Trying to figure out. Okay, yeah, just scoot over.
We'll scoot over.
Yeah,
We'll
you
share a
need to bring-
mic.
You need to bring a mic.
I can
It's
bring
all
my
good.
mic.
No, we joked. Chiba and I joked the other day. We're like, oh wow, Two Balls and a Mic finally has 4 road mics because we're counting ours. Actually, no, we have another one there.
Yeah, we do have another one.
But yeah, so perfect, gentlemen. Thank you again for this time. Ryan, Abe, first, let us know again. You let us know earlier, but that was half a show ago. Where can they find you?
At Abe_Zepeda on all social media platforms. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're almost at like 1,000 subscribers. or something.
Hell
We're
yeah.
98
Nice job.
away.
Nice job,
yeah.
fellas.
No,
Gotta
it's,
get there.
it's part of the grind, so we can live stream through our mobile phones. Something we've always wanted to do. We're in talks to have a booth and have a marathon podcast at the National City Chrome Ball Tour event.
Let's go.
September. That's in September.
That's going to be in September, so we'll see and start working some of those things out. Ryan, thank you for coming in.
Appreciate it
down
as
south.
always, guys.
The Imperial Beach smell has taken over this garage.
I've noticed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Please tell everybody where they can find you and your work.
Young the Ryan. I post more probably vacation stuff than I do soccer stuff, but now that I'm back, eager to share more wave stuff, so I'll be posting more.
Linchpin Creative.
Yeah, the website has some good stuff. It's a work in progress, but it's there.
It's great stuff. That's what it is. Thank you everybody who's joined us tonight. Trevor Flores, great stuff.
Oh, it's amazing,
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Great, fantastic.
Sean,
SD
fantastic.
Yeah, Sean, call the sirens. SDFC, please make sure that you take notes of the positives, and and there wasn't any negatives. Season's greetings to everybody. Bye, guys.
Good night, guys.